Stupid me. Good afternoon, my friends. Good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome back to the tavern. Let's see, over on Twitch we have Matty, we have Teresa, and we have Molly Sue. Welcome in, my friends. So very good to see you. Who's all in? Give me a wave. There's the head barmaid. Captain Hoodie's made it in. Hello, love. Good to see you. Hello, everyone. Another beautiful day in the tavern. Define what you can just throw up a hand, Matty, however you like. I'm not picky. Wave how you like. However, it's done by the culture of your most prominence. Feel free to just do that. I will not hold it against you. What? Hang on. Hang on. I don't. TikTok is actively trying to make sure that we're not able to do anything on TikTok. It is actually insane. Destiny, can you still see me over on TikTok? Baywitch, hello. But yeah, editing starts Saturday. Fun. Look forward to it. Okay. Yeah, I was just told that we've lost live access over on TikTok, which is wild. Not sure why that happened. But I guess we'll see what happens. Yeah, I'm... Okay, well, we'll see if they kick us off or not. If you're watching on TikTok and you lose us, it's because TikTok has decided... Yeah, I don't know. This is my real voice, yes. Randall, hello, good to see you, my friend. I do Americanize a little bit because of my American audience, but otherwise, yes, this is how I talk. Crystal, Christy, hello, welcome in. Finally made it, yes indeed. Well, welcome back, friends. I'm so glad that everyone could drop by the tavern with us this evening. I may have to get up here and there to go check on the boy because he is the ill at the moment. And the lady of the tavern is out of the tavern this evening, so it'll just be us girls tonight. Maybe if I can get the... There we go. Yes, Destiny knows, or Captain Hoodie, I should say, knows me what the kids call IRL. We've met several times. Well, not several times. We've met the one time, but we have spent a great deal of time interacting, I guess would be a more accurate way of saying it. The country that I am currently in is the United States, which is where I live. Yeah, we do chat a lot. But I was raised in Ireland and Norway, which is where my family are from. I'm from Southern Ireland, but I grew up with family who are from Norway and from Ireland. I always go to start talking about like where my family are actually from, and then I remember all of the drama we got in a while back where people were harassing my family. So I have to stop myself and make sure that I don't accidentally reveal where my family lives again. Been ages since I've been in here, what with work and family drama and all. Well, work and family drama are the dregs, Crystal. I'm glad that you've made it in, and I hope that you'll enjoy a little bit of story time and find yourself a little bit of relaxing along the way. One day, Soonish Castle, I'd love to meet Ira. I'd love to meet you too, Matty. And when the tavern is finally erect, we'll all get to meet. Milu, hello, good to see you. Does that mean we can have girl dinner? You can't have girl dinner, of course. Again, because it's just us girls, so you have to. It's almost required that you have to have girl dinner. As long as that's not going to be something that'll make you sick. I'll be honest, I don't know what girl dinner is, but and you don't eat any girls unless you're into that sort of thing. We are spectacular, Milu. How are you? Yeah, I got to avoid that bit. But Maida, welcome in. I'm glad that you are here. I hope you'll enjoy your time with us. We are on chapter 18 of Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. It should be good fun. Looks like everything is stable on my end. Bobby, hello, good evening. It's so good to see you. I'm glad you made it in. Automata on TikTok has been wild lately. The whole thing has just been wild. Every time we get on TikTok now, I get warned for something, and I'm not I have never been less edgy on TikTok than I am now, and it's constantly warning me about things, and I'm like, I didn't even do anything. Yeah, I can turn the mic up a little bit. I forgot I have the noise gate on now, so you guys won't get as much background noise. Did I miss any reading? It looks like it's just starting, but Hint and I were actually chatting for a bit, and we never get time for. No, yeah, we just started. I had to feed the boy because the boy is sick, and I had to feed myself, so I was running. I don't know when the lady has that we're supposed to be on. I thought we were supposed to be on at 6:30. She said we're supposed to be on at 7:30, and I planned to be on at 7 tonight. So, hubby, not Hint. Ah, so you were giving me a hint as to who you were talking to. I see. The boy is feeling better, which he has to because he's shipping out tomorrow. So he's headed off. I've never seen it actually filter comments, and now it's all of a sudden doing it all the time. Yeah, and I actually turned comment filtering off on my stuff because it was just filtering a bunch of things that didn't need to be filtered. Calendar says 6:30 PST. See, she fibbed to me. I knew it. Irritated with my kid. I have to try and fix an issue with her school financial aid. Hopefully it can be fixed. The joys, right? The joys of children heading out into the world. Temporary empty nesters. Yeah, this will actually be the first time Everett's going on a solo trip, because he used to go with his dad sometimes. It's been a while since that's happened. He does go see his father on the weekends, but rarely does he leave for long periods of time. He's going to be gone for almost 10 days in total. Hi, thanks for the bedtime stories, Elizabeth. It's my pleasure. Welcome in. Grab your seat, fill your drink. I'm just waiting a minute to make sure everything is stable, and then we'll get going. Yeah, he does feel better. He's still got a little bit of a cough, and he's still got a little bit of a sinus issue, but he's all right. Oh no. Yeah, she's something else. Do you do any audible readings? You can just call me. Now, is that Maria? Is it a unique spelling of Maria, or is there a particular way that that's pronounced? I do not do, well, actually, I do audible readings, but you won't, there are none, all of the ones that I've done never got published. So I have done audible readings, but, okay, excellent. I have done audible readings, but the authors who I did audible readings for didn't end up going through with publishing the audible readings. But you can go to the link in the tavern bio, and there is a channel in that link called Endless Epic. It'll be like ASMR bedtime stories or something of the like. And I do read chapters of stories uninterrupted, because over here during story time, we'll chat, we'll go back and forth, I'll ask people how they've been. So it's not a clean read through. I talk with the tavern folk as they enter in through the portals. But if you just want to hear something read all the way through without interruption, something like to fall asleep to, Endless Epic over on YouTube. Thank you, Destiny. I appreciate you, love. Also, Caden, thanks for all of the feedback on my stories so far, at least. Of course, Marty. It's my pleasure. Glad he's feeling better. I know he's been icky lately. Yeah, for the last two and a half days, he's been sort of down and out. But he's been in a habit of not eating well and then not sleeping well either. And so suddenly he just got hit with a bunch of sick because he had the stress of like going on his first solo trip. That's true. We actually have all of the podcast episodes over on the site. I forgot about that. Cassandra's going to be fixed and the climax adjusted. I look forward to seeing what you do, Matty. I look forward to it. All right, shall we begin, friends? Now, if you're new here, welcome. I am Castle. This is my tavern, and here we talk about myth and lore and tales of yore. Every now and again, I read you all a bedtime story. Tonight we are in Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. We may get into some Silverthorn. I might just actually do a brief story time tomorrow because we didn't get to do it on Thursday. Or on Tuesday, I should say. So if we don't get around to Silverthorn tonight, I might pop up tomorrow and do some. Absolutely. Pass a hello to Matty. I know he's switched feeds. Christy says hello, Matty. You're missed over in your Facebook realm. Justin, hello. Finally showed up. Welcome in, my friends. I'm very glad you could join us. Oh, we've got... Kick is an interesting streaming platform, but I don't... It's like the vast majority of people, if you don't have a large following on the platform itself, just the vast majority of people end up just being spammers. It's crazy. Time you out. Same for you. The amount of spam during these lives anyways is absolutely insane. Alright, my friends, let us begin. We are in Chapter 18 of Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. And it is birthday surprises. Excellent, Matty. I'm sure all of your friends over on Facebook will be glad to have you back. Let's do it. Chapter 18, Birthday Surprises. The next day, Harry confided in both Ron and Hermione the task that Dumbledore had set him. Though separately, for Hermione still refused to remain in Ron's presence longer than it took to give him a contemptuous look. Ron thought that Harry was unlikely to have any trouble with Slughorn at all. "He loves you," he said over breakfast, waving an airy forkful of Friday. "Won't refuse you anything, will he? Not his little potions prince. Just hang back after class this afternoon and ask him." Hermione, however, took a gloomier view of it. "He must be determined to hide what he really happened if Dumbledore couldn't get it out of him," she said in a low voice as they stood in the deserted, snowy courtyard at break. Horcruxes. I've never heard of them." "You haven't?" Harry was disappointed. He had hoped that Hermione might have been able to give him a clue as to what Horcruxes were. "It must be really advanced dark magic. Or why would Voldemort have wanted to know about them? I think it's going to be difficult to get the information, Harry. You'll have to be very careful about how you approach Slughorn. Think out a strategy." "Ron reckons I should just hang back after potions this afternoon." Oh, well, if Won thinks that, you better do it, she said, flaring up at once. After all, when has Won's judgment ever been faulty? Hermione, can't you... No! She said angrily and stormed away, leaving Harry alone and ankle-deep in snow. Potions lessons were uncomfortable enough these days, seeing as Harry and Ron and Hermione had to share a desk. Today, Hermione moved her cauldron around the table so that she was close to Ernie, and ignored both Harry and Ron. Frost, got on, my friends. Hello, hello, good to see you. Switch over to Twitch. Twitch allows me to multitask. Excellent. Well, I'm glad. Did I miss anybody coming in over on YouTube, Destiny, or was it just Elizabeth who popped in? I try to greet you all when you come in. But sometimes it gets flowing so fast I lose track of you all. Ads in 5. Okay, we'll take a brief reprieve and let the ads run so that we don't have to. So nobody has to miss anything. We're gonna run ads real quick over on Twitch. It'll be 3 minutes, and then we'll have an hour without ads for our Twitch friends. Okay, excellent. So I don't remember. I sort of lost interest in the Harry Potter series, especially the films, around the 6th book and the 6th film. So I don't remember this film for the life of me. I remember that somebody dies, but I don't I can't remember. I don't remember any of this, if I'm being honest. So it's been some time since I've actually read the 6th book. The 6th book was actually the last one I read. So if we end up reading the 7th, this will be my first time ever going through the 7th book. This is one of my favorite books and movies. A lot of people really like the 6th one. I personally, I'm a bit basic. I'm a big fan of the 3rd one. The 3rd one is probably my favorite book because it's got some of the more complex plot aspects. Well, if we have time, because the boy is going on his first solo trip. So if we have enough time after Harry Potter, we're going to read a little bit of Silverthorn. Oh, after we're done with Harry Potter. I might, after we finish the Harry Potter series, we might just do the readathon. Because I know a lot of people have been looking forward to doing Tolkien again. Sorry I'm AFK, we've been sorting stuff all night. Preparing for a yard sale this weekend. That's alright, love, don't worry about it. Harry's looking very clean, Castle. Thank you, Connor. The lady just gave me a trim the day before yesterday, and it feels very good with how hot it is. Would adding sheepskins in Chapter 1 help foreshadowing? Trying to keep it vague enough? Possibly, Matty. It depends on how you handle it. Yeah, maybe after we finish the Harry Potter series, we'll do the readathon, and I'll have the option for extending the amount of time we read up to a certain point each day, and we'll read every day for a certain amount of time until we either get through all of the Lord of the Rings books or something of the like. Oh, that reminded me to trim mine tomorrow too. Yeah, I'm supposed to do mine every other Friday, but I often forget, and the lady and I get buried in work. Oh yeah, I saw my oncologist today. She's really impressed with my progress on this new medication. That's good, Milu. Excellent. A readathon is much needed in my hour of need. Well, let's see if we can get to it then. Gonna. I actually just got some study novel stuff together for The Hobbit for Bog. That's excellent. Absolutely spectacular. Got to start them young. Okay, I'm just trying to figure out, without removing much in terms of scenes unless necessary. The hardest part with writing novels is the cutting out of scenes. When you get to a point where you are professionally editing, you're gonna have a lot of cutting that has to be done, and they call it slaying your darlings or killing your babies because it is substantial. Milu, no, I appreciate you. Crystal says yay for Milu. Answer thank you, Frost. I appreciate you. Also reminds me I need to trim my own hair and start writing again. I'm thinking of doing another writing competition in the guild. You guys let me know if that's something you would like me to do again. I know quite a few people were excited about it the last time, but I'm considering doing a prize of sorts for another writing competition. So we'll see if that's something that everybody wants. But I'd love the writing competition. All right. Well, we'll see what happens. All right, ads are done. Let's continue stories, friends. I'm not comp ready, but I have ideas and birds in my head I want to see on paper. The best thing you can do, I cannot emphasize this enough. If you want to create things that are for people, if you want to make things that are for people, especially if it's something you can do digitally, like writing or making videos, just put it out. Put some stuff out. Your first sets of things are gonna be bad. They're all gonna be bad. Doesn't matter how good you think you are, it doesn't matter how much you've read about it, doesn't matter how much you practice in private. Everything that you make at first is going to be bad. Just put it out and work on it. You will have good things about it, and you might be better at things than you thought you were. But just accept that it's going to be bad, make it, and put it out. If I could show you guys some of the things that me and my brother made 10, 15 years ago, you wouldn't even recognize me and my brother from the stuff we did all those years ago. Some ludicrous things. You have to make bad so you can make good. That's just the reality of it. We need more Southern Belle Castle. Alright, let's continue, my friends. What have you done? Ron muttered to Harry, looking at Hermione's haughty profile. But before Harry could answer, Slughorn was calling for silence from the front of the room. Settle down, please. Quickly now, lots of work to get through this afternoon. Gowpalot's third law. Who can tell me? But Miss Granger can, of course. Hermione recited at top speed.
Galpot's third law states that the antidote for a blended poison will be equal to more than the sum of the antidotes for each of the separate components.
Precisely, beamed Slughorn. 10 points to Gryffindor. Now, if we accept Galpot's third law is true... Harry was going to have to take Slughorn's word for it, that Galpot's third law was true, because he had not understood any of it. Nobody, apart from Hermione, seemed to be following what Slughorn said next either. Which means, of course, that assuming we have achieved the correct identification of a poison's ingredients by Scarpin's revealer spell, our primary aim is not a relatively simple one of selecting antidotes to those ingredients in and of themselves, but to find that added component that will, by an almost alchemical process, transform these desperate elements. Ron was sitting beside Harry with his mouth half open, doodling absently in his new copy of Advanced Potion Making. Ron kept forgetting that he could no longer rely on Hermione to help him out of trouble when he failed to grasp what was going on. And so, finished Slughorn, I want each of you to come and take one of these files from my desk. You're going to create an antidote for the poison within it before the end of the lesson. Good luck! Don't forget your protective gloves. Hermione had left her stool and was halfway towards Slughorn's desk before the rest of the class had realized it was time to move. And by the time Harry, Ron, and Ernie returned to the table, she had already tipped the contents of her file into her cauldron and was kindling a fire underneath it.
It's a shame The prince won't be able to help you much with this, Harry.
She said brightly as she straightened up.
You have to understand the principles involved this time. No shortcuts or cheats.
Annoyed, Harry uncorked the poison he had taken from Slughorn's desk, which was a garish shade of pink, tipped it into his cauldron, and lit a fire underneath it. He did not have the faintest idea what he was supposed to do next. They glanced around at Ron, who was now standing there looking rather gormless, having copied everything Harry had done.
You sure Prince hasn't got any tips?
Ron muttered to Harry. Harry pulled out his trusty copy of Advanced Potion Making and turned to the chapter on antidotes. There was Galpot's third law, stated word for word as Hermione had recited it, but not a single illuminating note in the prince's hand to explain what it meant. Apparently, the prince, like Hermione, had no difficulty understanding it.
Nothing,
said Harry gloomily. Hermione was now waving her wand enthusiastically over her cauldron. Unfortunately, they could not copy the spells she was doing because she was now so good at non-verbal incantations that she did not need to say the words aloud. Ernie Macmillan, however, was muttering
Specialis Revelio
over his cauldron, which sounded impressive, so Harry and Ron imitated him. It took Harry only 5 minutes to realize that his reputation as the best potion maker in class was crashing around his ears. Slughorn had peered hopefully into his cauldron on his first circuit of the dungeon, preparing to exclaim in delight as he usually did, and instead had withdrawn his head hastily, coughing as the smell of bagged eggs overwhelmed him. Hermione's expression could not have been any smugger. She had loathed being outperformed in every potions class. She was now decanting the mysteriously separated ingredients of her potion into 10 different crystal phials. More to avoid watching this irritating sight than anything else, Harry bent over the Half-Blood Prince book and turned a few pages with unnecessary force. And there it was, scrawled right across the long list of antidotes. Just shove a Bezor down their throats. Harry stared at these words for a moment. Hadn't he once, long ago, heard of Bezors? Hadn't Snape mentioned them in their first ever potions lesson? A stone taken from the stomach of a goat, which will protect from most poisons. It was not an answer to the Galpalot problem, and had Snape still been their teacher, Harry would not have dared to do it. But this was a moment for desperate measures. He hastened towards the store cupboard and rummaged around within it, pushing aside unicorn horns and tangles of dried herbs until he found, at the very back of the small cupboard box on which had been scribbled the word Bezos. He opened the box just as Slughorn called, 2 minutes left, everyone! Inside were half a dozen shriveled brown objects, looking more like dried-up kidneys than real stones. Harry seized one, put the box back in the cupboard, and hurried back to his cauldron. "Time's up," called Slughorn genially. "Well, let's see how you've done. Blaze, what have you got for me?" Slowly, Slughorn moved around the room, examining the various antidotes. Nobody had finished the task, although Hermione was trying to cram a few more ingredients into a bottle before Slughorn reached her. Ron had given up completely and was merely trying to avoid breathing the putrid fumes issuing from his cauldron. And he stood there waiting, the Bezor clutched in his slightly sweaty hand. "Darth Bighead, hello, my friend, welcome in, grab your seat." Snape voice on point. "Thank you, Gunnar, I appreciate you." Alright, I'm not mystery one, it doesn't look like. Champion. Trying to stay true to history, no horns on Viking helmets. Yes, indeed, unless you're talking about operatic Vikings, in which case, lots of horns on their helmets. Slughorn reached their table last. He sniffed Ernie's potion, passed on to Ron's with a grimace, and did not linger over Ron's cauldron, but backed away swiftly, retching slightly. "And you, Harry," he said, "what have you got to show me?" Harry held out his hand, a bezoar sitting in his palm. Slughorn looked down at it for a full 10 seconds. Harry wondered for a moment whether he was going to shout at him. Then he threw his head back and roared with laughter. "You've got nerve, boy!" he boomed, taking the bezoar and holding it up so that the class could see it. "Oh, you're like your mother. Well, I can't fault you. A bezoar certainly would act as an antidote to all of these potions." Hermione, who was sweaty-faced and had soot on her nose, looked livid. Her half-finished antidote, comprising 52 ingredients, including a chunk of her own hair, bubbled sluggishly behind Slughorn, who had eyes for nobody but Harry. "And you thought of a bezoar all by yourself, did you, Harry?"
"Oh, and you thought of a bezoar all by yourself, did you, Harry?"
she asked through gritted teeth. "That's the individual spirit a real potion maker needs," said Slughorn happily, before Harry could reply. "Just like his mother. She had the same intuitive grasp of potion making. It's undoubtedly Lily. From Lily he gets it."
"Yes, Harry, yes. If you've got a bezoar to hand..."
Oh wait, no, this is still Slughorn. "Yes, Harry, yes. If you got a bezoar to hand, of course, that would do the trick. Although, as they don't work on everything and are pretty rare, it's still worth knowing how to mix antidotes." The only person in the room looking angrier than Hermione was Malfoy, who, Harry was pleased to see, had spilled something that looked like catsup all over himself. Before either of them could express their fury that Harry had come top of the class by not doing any work, however, the bell rang. "Time to back up," said Slughorn, "and an extra 10 points to Gryffindor for your sheer cheek." Still chuckling, he waddled back to his desk at the front of the dungeon. Harry dawdled behind, taking an inordinate amount of time to do up his bag. Neither Ron nor Hermione wished him luck as they left. Both looked rather annoyed. At last, Harry and Slughorn were the only two left in the room. "Come now, Harry. You'll be late for your next lesson," said Slughorn affably, snapping the gold-clasped shut on his dragon skin briefcase.
"Sir,"
said Harry, reminding himself irresistibly of Voldemort.
"I wanted to ask you something."
"Ask away, then, my dear boy, ask away."
"Sir, I wondered what you know about Horcruxes."
Slughorn froze. His round face seemed to sink upon itself. He licked his lips and said hoarsely, "What did you say?"
I asked whether you know anything about Horcruxes, sir. You see..."
"Did Dumbledore put you up to this?" whispered Slughorn. His voice had changed completely. It was not genial anymore, but shocked and terrified. He fumbled in his breast pocket and pulled out a handkerchief, mopping his sweating brow. "Dumbledore's shown you that memory, well, hasn't he?"
"Yes, sir,"
said Harry, deciding on the spot that it was best not to lie. Yes, of course," said Slughorn quietly, still dabbing at his white face. Ooh, that's very loud. Hang on just a second. Sometimes these songs just get ridiculously loud for no reason. Alright, that should be better. Katsika. Bear, hello, my friend. So good to see you. Welcome in. Glad that you made it. Did you have something significant happen, Frost? I have not been in the guild at all. So if you had something that was important happening, I'm glad that it went well, or didn't go. Did it go well? I did find out that I'm actually having a good-sized raise this year, though that is good news. Of course, well, if you've seen that memory, Harry, you'll know that I don't know anything. Anything, he repeated the word forcefully. About Horcruxes. He seized his dragon briefcase, stuffed his handkerchief back into his pocket, and marched to the dungeon door.
Sir, said Harry desperately, I just thought that there might be more to the memory.
Did you? Said Slughorn. And you were wrong, weren't you? Wrong! He bellowed the last word, and before Harry could say another word, slammed the dungeon door behind him. Neither Ron nor Hermione was at all sympathetic when Harry told them of his disastrous interview. Hermione, still seething at the way Harry had triumphed without doing the work properly, and Ron was resentful that Harry hadn't slipped him a Bazor as well.
It would have just looked stupid if we'd both done it, said Harry irritably. Look, I had to try and soften him up so I could ask him about Voldemort, didn't I? Oh, hang on, this is still Harry. Look, I had to try and soften him up so I could ask him about Voldemort, didn't I? Oh, will you get a grip?
He added in exasperation, as Ron winced at the sound of the name. Infuriated by his failure and by Ron's and Hermione's attitudes, Harry brooded for the next few days over what to do next about Slughorn. He decided that for the time being he would let Slughorn think that he had forgotten all about Horcruxes. It was surely best to lull him into a false sense of security before returning to the attack. When Harry did not question Slughorn again, the potions master reverted to his usual affectionate treatment of him, and appeared to have put the matter from his mind. Harry awaited an invitation to one of his little evening parties, determined to accept this time, even if he had to reschedule Quidditch practice. Unfortunately, however, no such invitation arrived. Harry checked with Hermione and Ginny. Neither of them had received an invitation, and nor, as far as they knew, had anyone else. Harry could not help wondering whether this meant that Slughorn was not quite as forgetful as he appeared, simply determined to give Harry no additional opportunities to question him. Meanwhile, the Hogwarts library had failed Hermione for the first time in living memory. She was so shocked, she even forgot she was annoyed at Harry for his trick with the Bazor.
I haven't found one single explanation of what Horcruxes do, she told him. Not a single one. I've been right through the restricted section, and even in the most horrible books, where they tell you how to brew the most gruesome potions. Nothing. All I could find was an introduction to magical most evil. Listen. Of the Horcrux, wickedest of magical inventions, we shall not speak nor give direction. I mean, why mention it then?
She said impatiently, slamming the old book shut. It let out a ghostly wail.
Oh, shut up,
she snapped, stuffing it back into her bag. The snow melted around the school as February arrived, to be replaced by cold, dreary wetness. Purplish grey clouds hung low over the castle, and a constant fall of chilly rain made the lawns slippery and muddy. The upshot of this was that the 6th year's first apparition lesson, which was scheduled for a Saturday morning so that no normal lessons would be missed, took place in the Great Hall instead of in the grounds. Molly Sue, hello, so good to see you. Okay, we may have a child solution, so we'll make adjustments this morning. I can calm down now and get some rest. Excellent, Bobby, I'm glad to hear it. Esther, hello. We trust this message finds you well. Johnny is currently unwell and at home. Providing him with necessary care, Elsie has undergone a dental cleaning at the veterinary office, resulting in a noticeably improved appearance. Extra charming, I presume. Regrettably, the anesthetic administered during the procedure has caused her experience with diarrhea for the past 2 days. Consequently, I will be returning to the veterinary's office tomorrow for a post-operation. It's quite a bit of a day you've had, or a couple of days you've had, Esther. Oh, I don't presume it'll turn into a bear pity party. What you got going on, bear? Tyson, hello. Guten Abend, mein Freunden. Sounds like Halloween music. Well, the playlist that I have on, you haven't missed too much. We're a few pages in, but you haven't missed too much. Right, I did grab everyone, looks like. Don't want to celebrate too early, but I think I'm getting promoted to apprentice technician at work. Well, we'll keep fingers crossed for you, Tyson. And if it turns out to be, then we'll have a celebration when it comes about. For later, I'm redeeming oh, for the sea shanty. You got it, Neil. What do you want to hear later on? Just the usual crap ton of pain? Ah, I'm sorry to hear it, brother. Later, can you give Gunnar the writer's role in the guild? I most certainly can. I might need feedback a few more characters cancelled just so I can have notes to make them better, certainly. Matty, just let me know which ones you'd like me to go over. See, I do get pain in my knees and shoulders during the wintertime, but the pain that I get in my joints is nothing compared to the pain that I get when it's hot. Because I feel like my skin is inflating when it's hot because of my nerve damage. So it's a constant choice between the heat and the cold. But I prefer the aching in my joints as opposed to the pain that happens when it gets too hot. Batten down the what's it? I listened to the original. Your version is better. Thank you, Milu. Yeah, Hoist Up the Thing is a favorite of Bear's as well. I know. Bear, do you have like a regular mobility routine that you do to keep? Like, obviously, the pain's not going to go away when you have chronic pain. But do you have a mobility routine that you do for like stretching and strengthening the muscles around everything? My pain almost vanishes in the heat. No, stop it. I didn't ask you anything about Spanish. Stop it. I've seen the names. Luckily, I'm in no rush for most. Just one is a bigger priority since she's also in Chapter 1. Alright, Matty, well, I'll get to it when I can, of course. Well, I'm sorry that you're not feeling well, Bear. Neil, you said most of your pain almost vanishes in the heat. Yeah, so for some people, they feel better in the heat. For me, I'm always miserable in the heat. I just can't do it. Part of it is that I prefer the cold, and part of it is that when it is hot, I actually feel like I'm inflating, like my skin feels tight, and I just don't care for it. I'll live however I need to live, but I prefer to be cold if I can be. Alright, let's continue. Where was I? I'm getting new uniform shirts. I work to match the shop employees instead of the advisors up front who coordinate the cars for the shop. That sounds like it's the preeminence of good news. I hurt in the cold and get sick of the heat, so Destiny needs perfect fall weather in order to not feel terrible. We had 43, 109 with humidity today, and it felt like when I was in the Bahamas over a decade ago, but my pain level is 0 and it's usually a 6 or 7. Yeah, I see. If it were 109 here, I would basically be dead. I would have to be doing virtually nothing, or I would be sweating buckets everywhere. We love the cold weather. Yes, we do, Ghost of Esther. I have osteoarthritis in all my joints and my right side from boxing, and for me, it's the pressure changes. Yeah, 109. I would be out. That would be the end for me. I have to sit down and physically lift my legs with my hands just to get my boots on. Yeah, Bear. I meant to send you this, but I'm gonna send you because I have messed up hips and knees and shoulders because of falling off of things and getting hit by cars and whatnot. Virginia has been stupid hot and humid. Yeah, most of the American South has been very humid this year, very hot. And the lady and I are out in California, and it's always hot here. Even our winters are hot. Yeah, I'll send it to you as well, Disney, because I have a mobility routine that I do for strengthening my joints, because all of my joints are messed up. I've gotten necrosis build up in all of my joints from my nerve problems. So I have to do that on a regular basis in order to make sure that I'm not in extreme pain all the time. If I don't exercise regularly and keep my joints and the muscles surrounding them strong, then I'm just miserable. Donnie is in bed and he wishes you a good evening, Castle. Well, give him a fine good evening from me as well. Friend of mine is in North Carolina, messaged me yesterday. It was 109. No, I can't. Never happen. It would be the end of me. That would be the last any of you would see of Castle. I'd be a goner for sure. Alright, let's continue, friends. See, that's why I prefer the cold with a nice fireplace. So you can put the folk who need the heat next to the fireplace. And then I can... Santana! Hello, my friend! 25 months, you mad lad, you. Thank you for the resub, brother. Tips to the Tavern Keeper, always appreciated. The legend Santana himself has dropped in. I sent you the list of characters I'm most worried about. Alright, Matty, I'll give him a look. Bike accidents, hit by cars, years of contact sports, manual handling jobs. It's built up a miserable 50s. It is rough. Yeah, anybody who wants my mobility routine, I can post it over in the guild and I can send it to you guys personally as well. A lot of it is very easy to do, a lot of it you can do lying down, and it has progressive to where, so to start with, it's just for maintenance. Like, there are some easier versions of it, and then there's maintenance. And then once you get the maintenance to a point where it's easy, you can also use it for strength building. We need to get our fireplace checked before winter. I love a good fire. Yeah, see, I like it to be cold, and then there'll be a fireplace I can go stand next to for a couple of seconds, and then not be around forever. Castle, terrible flu going around. I have my mask on. Yeah, the boy's actually been down with a flu for a couple of days as well. So, it is kind of going around. I don't know how it got from you to me, since you're on the other side of the world, Esther, but got over here to the boy. 97 today with 80%. We're having a relatively cool couple of weeks here in Canada. It's still too hot for me, but relatively cool couple of weeks. I've turned into a hermit. Weren't you kind of always a bit of a hermit, though, Bobby? I mean, and I don't say that insultingly. I mean, most of us are hermits. Yeah, just miserable. My daughter begged me last night to take off work today. She's not doing well with the mental health. I'm sorry to hear that, Santana. We've had a bug going through the shop over the last few weeks. It's that time of year. You get coming up on the end of summer, and everybody just kind of gets hit by it. I know the temp, but it's too damn hot. That's all I know. We're caught in a stupid corn steam heat. Yes and no. The humidity is making me hot. It would me too. I took off yesterday so they could go to the hospital, and we're getting her a new therapist. If you don't mind my recommendation, Santana, therapy is good, but what you need to ensure is that at home, you and her have some sort of purpose. Because when you have something that you do that is rewarding, it's very good for your mental health. Because a lot of us end up locked up inside, not doing a whole lot, just going through the motions of whatever it is we have to do. And that's very bad for your brain. You have to remember that human beings have only lived this way for like the last 200 years. It's not good for us. It is, and even then, it's better if, it's really only been the last 50 years, not even the last 50 years, that's really been true. Yeah, getting time outside, making sure that you are doing things with a purpose is very, very good for your mental health. Which, if you're not from the Midwest, it's this time of year that the corn starts drying out and releases a ton of steam and moisture in the air, makes it extra hot and humid. You know, it gets that way in wherever you have masses of farmland. You'll get that time of year where all of the plants are drying out and they release a crap ton of humidity into the air, and it happens. Especially high water yield plants like corn, like soybeans, stuff that retains a lot of water. Yeah, it can be miserable. Is that why my town is surrounded by farms? Yeah, absolutely. I'd never heard it called a corn bob before, but yeah, anywhere where there's like massive amounts of farms, especially like high moisture things like uh, you'll get it a lot with almond orchards. You get it a lot with corn. You get it with soybeans. You get it with if you have like large avocado or peach farms. Though they tend to be very humid during the off season because all of the leftover fruit and all of the it's not as bad in orchards, but it does happen with certain types of orchards, like small leafed orchards. If they're large leaves, then it's not as bad. But small leaves um, is like that, and it's most common in swampy areas around corn, around soybeans. It also happens in areas where they grow rice, but that's because there's a lot of groundwater. So there are areas in China and Japan that get really humid around the time of year when the off season hits, and it's miserable. I was in Thailand with my grandfather in the off season for when they were growing rice, and it was miserable. I didn't have nerve damage yet, and it was miserable. I was a child. I didn't start developing nerve damage until I was 12 years old. No, I was a young boy. I think I was like 8 or 9 years old. It was absolutely miserable. Corn takes an insane amount of water to grow, and then towards the end, like you said, it dries out and releases their moisture into the air. Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's the same thing with soybeans. Soybeans take a lot of water to grow. So do almonds. And when at the end of the grow cycle, it dries out, and it's miserable for everyone. Also, we had a hiccup with the loan. Apparently, the appraisal company hit us with saying our 1 acre of land is worth only 70. Banks are bollocks, mate. It's always irritating. It's also why there's generally more storms this time of year, right? You got more condensation, you get the evaporation, the condensation, you get some dust in the air because things are drying out, and then clouds, and then boom, rain. I got a Greek summer next year, so 100 plus degrees. Best of luck to you, buddy. That's all I'll say. And like our tax assessment says, it's worth at least 50K. Yeah, the whole thing is. You have my condolences, but I hope that you can figure something out because it's always miserable dealing with banks. They're full of it. Absolutely full of it. Ah, that one's really loud too. What is the deal? Calm down. Calm down. Yeah, that one should be fine. Alright, let's get back into stories, friends. I'll pop back up and, like, the bank wants to give me the loan, but they were just as surprised as I was. Yeah, but that's what I mean, though, is that like, the whole system is bollocks out. Crap, it's after 11, my duo streak. I know they've changed, but I'm almost at 1,300 days. You know, I think I just hit like 1070 or 10 something. I don't know if I'll keep it because I don't really use it anymore. Like I get on once a day just to keep the streak, but I don't really do it anymore. Because they've just kind of gone downhill. But it's hard to let go of something you've worked on that hard. We had a cornfield 30 feet from our back door at the last house my mom and I lived in back home, and we could pick corn and shuck it right there. And it was the hot water. In the hot water within 5 minutes of being picked. It doesn't get much fresher than that. No, it doesn't. Yes, it is. I can't even get a loan, which pisses me off because the lady I'm buying the trailer off of is getting impatient. Yeah, it's just the whole financial markets. If you're not like ultra wealthy, is bollocks. Send me the information you have, Santana, over in the guild. I'll see if there's anything that I can do to help. I doubt there will be, but I do have some experience with these things, so if you want to send it over to me, I'll see if I can help at all. Alright, let's continue. Yeah, I don't mind the AI stuff if it's used responsibly. The issue that I take with Duolingo is that their lessons were already bad to begin with. Like a lot of the lessons, especially with Irish Gaelic, were really bad. But now they're developing all of the lessons and the voiceovers with AI. And don't get me wrong, voice actors are damn near impossible to work with. Like you will rarely meet a more entitled group of people than voice actors. We know quite a few voice actors, and I've worked with voice actors out here in Los Angeles. Voice actors are some of the most insufferable people to work with. They are very entitled, very full of themselves. And they're constantly just wanting more and more and more and more and more all the time. And there's just not that much money in what is being made from voice acting. Like it's you can just as easily make a game or a show that is entirely unvoiced, and it will make almost as much money as if it is voiced. And if you have really good voice actors, then it definitely adds to the ambiance of it. And I do like when things are voice acted, and I think voice actors should be paid what they're worth. My problem with Castle, I will listen in the background. Comments move swiftly, and as a ghost, my comments tend to be overlooked. Esther, I have responded to every single one of your comments. I have responded to everything you've said. I would never overlook you. Oh, no, that's not true. I missed this one. How's me? I did actually see this one. I just forgot to respond to it. How's Milo, Boo, and Coda? They are all good. But I did get the rest of them. Milo, Boo, and Coda are good. Milo is in the bedroom sleeping, and Boo is, I think, sleeping with the boy, and I think the dog is as well. I think they're in there comforting him. But yeah, with the Duolingo thing, what bothers me is that if you're going to use AI to do something, it should improve the quality of it, not reduce the quality of it. Like if it's a thing you expect people to pay for, yes, everyone is wonderful. Milo has become very snuggly since he's settled in, so he just constantly wants to be like snuggling with people. Yeah, Busu is much better if you want to learn languages. It's got a lot of phonetic stuff, which is great. Yeah, I like. There's no avoiding AI. Like you can't oppose AI because AI is going to happen whether we want it to or not. It just needs to be used responsibly. Like I use AI to generate my subtitles on my videos. It's built into the DaVinci, the program that I use, and I use it for color correcting because it's built into the color corrector. So there's no point in opposing AI because it's going to happen no matter what. Like you're not going to stop it. None of us are going to stop it. But it does need to be used responsibly, and Duolingo is a example of it not being used responsibly. Duolingo is their lessons are getting worse. They are ignoring language conventions. Like they have a bunch of stuff in Irish Gaelic that you would never say in Irish Gaelic. It doesn't make any sense. But they've incorporated it because an AI structured the lesson, and they're trying to have it say things that you just couldn't say in Irish Gaelic or in Scottish Gaelic. So the issue that I take with it is that if you're going to use AI, it should be one to bolster up what you're making. It should be to improve the quality, not degrade the quality. And if it is being used to cut costs, then the quality should at the very least not go down. And that's the problem with Duolingo, is the quality has gone way down over the last 2.5, 3 years. AI, artificial intelligence, is beneficial to a certain extent, but it also presents some concerns. Right. And like again, none of the things that are happening is going to be able to be stopped. These large language models are so big and they cover so many areas now that there's no stopping it. Like there's really no point in even talking about stopping it, because it's not going to happen. If the United States and its programming people don't do it, then the Russian and the Indian and the Chinese and the Japanese will do it. There's no stopping it. It's sort of like the building the biggest bomb sort of thing, right? Like you want to be the guy who has the biggest one, just so that you're not the guy who has the smallest one. Yeah, well, and that's Busu is one of my favorites because it's all free. It's not super annoying with the ads. It has more ads than I would like, but it's also pretty cheap. Like you can do $50 for a whole year, and they're a pretty good company. And there are a lot of libraries that have online language classes. There are a lot of places you can take online language classes. So if there ends up an AI president, well, that's like there was an AI president in Fallout 3, I think. Hang on, the lady is calling me, friends. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. My mom uses Duolingo, and when she messages my stepsister, who is a native German, my stepsister understands what my mom is saying, but she responds with, "You would never say it that way. It would be said this way." Right. Well, that's what I mean. Is that like Duolingo is not using an advanced enough AI to understand the nuances of language. So it will use all kinds of like it'll take Spanish and it will take Gaelic and it'll take Italian and it'll build out these gender neutral sentences that don't work because the language is completely gendered. So they just don't make any sense because you wouldn't say it that way. Don't want to be that guy with the smallest one. Yeah, absolutely. You don't want to be the guy with the smallest bomb. Oh, you know that feeling well, don't you? Hi, Herring. How you doing, my friend? Castle, artificial intelligence is an inevitable presence in our world. Yeah, it's gonna happen. So looking forward to Skynet. I don't know if I'm looking forward to Skynet, but I'm hoping that we end up with the with the Star Trek version of AI more so than the Terminator version of AI. But as long as we can find Sarah and John Connor, right? I've always liked the notion of Terminator because it's so interesting to combine sort of this mystical idea of the chosen one and the prophecy with this super advanced notion. No, I know, Bear. I'm just saying, I am afraid we're headed towards Skynet because they're even talking about doing things like that, and I'm just like it's a very frightening prospect to be sure, but I I'm always hopeful that we're going to have the better version of things. Like I'm always hopeful that we're going to have the better version of all of the things. But Val, hello, I'm doing well. We are in the midst of story time, but I'm kind of off on a bit of a ramble at the moment. We're going to get back into it though. I see. I actually I'm not a huge fan of Star Trek. I like Star Trek as a concept, but I only watched, I think, the first season of it, and didn't get much farther than that. Okay, babe, hello! Must be off for Twitch. I hope everyone is having a great night. We're having a wonderful night. Terminator and AI, right? Yeah. It's just like, the reality is that AI is the modern day manufacturing, right? In the mid 1800s, pretty much everything was still made by hand. And the people who refused to modernize and learn how to manufacture using more advanced tools and factories and so on, they disappeared. And there were a lot of crafts that refused to modernize that were lost entirely. Like there are processes and tools and things that we no longer understand because they completely disappeared. And AI is going to be like that, but for intellectual properties. AI is the manufacturing revolution of writing and entertainment and art and movies. And while I definitely don't think there should ever be a time when we are exclusively making entertainment for people that does not include real people, the only way that that happens is if we push this in the right direction, right? And there's just really no getting around it. It's gonna happen whether we want it to or not. Val, thank you for the roses, love. I appreciate you. Thank you kindly. Tips of the tavern keep it always appreciated. It's going to be a while, I think. Not the near future, at least. Part of the problem is that large language models not only have the best knowledge from the smartest people available on the internet, they also have the worst opinions of the dumbest people on the internet. It mimics all of us, so ultimately we are the limitation for now. Right. I liked it back when it was in black and white on TV. I will say that I really like the camp of the original Star Trek. Like the campiness of the original Star Trek, I enjoyed deeply. So we're going to have to pay more for artisan movies and music, aren't we? See, but that's what the lady and I are working on. Is we eventually hope to make movies and books and comics, and if we can, games and shows and things that are made with the true essence of human storytelling. And yeah, it will probably get to a point where those sorts of things are like a premium, like artisan thing. It's just like if you want bread that's not made in a factory, you have to go to an artisan bakery to get that bread, and it does cost a little bit more. But there are a lot of people who exclusively go and get their bread from these artisan things. AI and robots are going to be the death of humanity. They might be. I see. I'm not as convinced of the doom and gloom of it. What usually ends up happening with these, because human beings are really good at things, but we're also very bad at things. Castle, regrettably, my iPhone 15 Pro is equipped with artificial intelligence capabilities, rendering it difficult to disable. Yeah, and it's going to be in everything going forward. Like, there's part of the reason why we had to get a new Magic Box is because all of the programs we use incorporate AI tools that we can't shut off. So we have to. Enhancement only is my philosophy with AI. Yeah, and you're going to get a lot of people who are going to agree with that. You're going to get a lot of people who disagree with that. That's the nature of living in a free society and living in intellectual freedom. But the reality is that human beings, for the most part, prefer authenticity. But when it comes to mundane things, like there's not a human being on the planet who cares who is writing news articles. Like, most people don't even know who their news people are anymore. There are certain things like games journalism and review content that is gonna all but disappear because people don't really care what most of the people, they just want to know if it's good or not before they buy it. They just want to know if it's good or not before they spend their time on it. There are certain things like books. I don't think books will ever be outsourced to AI because even though AI can write pretty good books, people don't really care about something that didn't come from the imagination of another person. Like there will be a market for AI books. I don't doubt that. There will be people who are happy to read AI slop. I mean, there's a bunch of terrible authors right now who make millions and their books are not good. They're not particularly well written, but they're bought out the wazoo and people read them and enjoy them. So there will be a market for those kinds of books, but the stuff that is more authentic will always have a place in the market, and if anything, it will become a premium product going forward. I just avoid it where I can, is all. Yeah, like if I see something as AI, like if it's an AI story or something that is speaking, I just skip it because it's not real. It means nothing. It was made up by a computer for no reason other than somebody typed in a prompt. There's no substance to it. True, but for instance, if I have to pay 10 times the price to see the new Tarantino movie as I do the AI slop, that's going to cut out a lot of people from such things. Well, see, but I think that you're looking at it from the wrong perspective, though, Herring. Because AI is so widely available, the AI slop is going to be very cheap. Right now, people can charge for it what everybody else charges for everything else. But it's going to get to a point where AI is so easy to access that they're going to be making 50, 100 movies a year with AI, and they're going to have to charge less for it because if they want people to go and see it, the price is going to have to go down if they want that much attention from people. So I think that in general, the premium stuff will probably go up a little bit if it's made by somebody new, but people are already not going to the movies because it's too expensive. Like, who wants to spend $50 for two people to go watch a movie? The lady and I haven't been out to see a movie in years because it's just too expensive. AI might try, but artists are always going to produce their particular kind of art. Right, and AI can imitate, but it can never innovate. That's the thing, is it can only do what people have already done, or it can only do some portion of what people have already done. And it can fake ingenuity, but it can never have ingenuity. Because every computer is exactly the same. Right? Every computer is almost exactly the same. What makes human ingenuity unique is what we've talked about before. It's the same thing that makes our pain unique. While every human being may be able to wash their hands, or feel sadness, or feel alone, the way that each human being experiences those things is vastly different. So, what makes human stories unique is the lens through which we are seeing them. That's why they are interesting. But that's not going to happen with AI because AI can't do that. The AI has to run off the same code as every other AI. And even if AI starts to iterate upon itself, where it can create infinite versions, it can only ever be as much as the number of humans or the types of humans that have existed. It can never be anything new, whereas each human being born is slightly different. So even if it gets close, it will never surpass humanity in creativity and in the arts, because art is the essence of humanity, and AI can't copy that because it quite literally has to copy from behind, so it can never surpass. I used AI to make my emotes because I don't know what program to use to make them. Well, and for any of you that stream, you can always, the lady and I do that for streamers. So if you ever want that done, you can reach out to us and we do that. The lady makes all of those things. But yeah, and I don't really care about people necessarily using it for art and whatnot, because the reality is that somebody who's using AI art for the things that they do probably doesn't have the money to pay artists to do it anyways. So it's not like that person was ever going to pay an artist to do it anyhow. The lady's calling me back. Just a second, friends. I wanna catch a couple of these. Castle, I am an avid reader and I find the tactile experience of turning a page to be unparalleled. I agree. Esther, I love reading with my e-reader, but that's just because I'm chasing kiddos around so I don't lose my place and I can carry tons of books that way. Yeah, absolutely. We are some of those people unless we get given passes. Right. I haven't been to the movies in years strictly because it's insanely expensive for something I can do in my living room. Right. And the movies have just gone down in quality to be perfectly honest with you. Sometimes, say, I might take my kids out for a junk food run at the dollar store and then, or bulk store, and then we watch a movie. Yeah, and it's so much more fun to do from your home because it's your home, right? You don't have to deal with other people in that way. It depends on what you want, Maddie. But the lady, you can message Una and she'll tell you because I don't actually know what her rate is for it anymore. But she does really all of the emotes that we have. She's done so. Last time I went to the movies was with my nephew for the two of us. Two large sodas and a medium popcorn was close to $50. Yeah, it's insane. Johnny and I have not attended the cinema in 10 years. I now watch the latest films and all. Yeah, and that's the thing is if you could do it all from your house, why would you do it from anywhere else? I can't remember the last time I went to a cinema. We have one that is our last drive-ins is about 5 minutes from. I would love a drive-in. Like even though it's not on brand, when we open the village, I might do a drive-in of sorts. There, Michael, hello. I have to go check on the boy real quick, but I'm gonna toot you on the horn here. I'm gonna run some ads while I'm checking on the boy, and then when I get back, we'll get back to reading because I know I've waffled here for a bit. So here we go. Thank you for the raid, my friend. Settle in. We're going to run some ads here for a second, and when I get back, we will be back into stories. Got a raid and run, that's alright. Have a good night, I appreciate you. Stay bloodthirsty, my friend, and rest well. I miss old Hollywood and real acting. I do too, Val. I do too. And thank you for the roses, I appreciate you. Alright, I will be right back. I'm going to meet you guys, I'll be right back. All right, I have returned. All right, let's get back into reading, friends. I know I've been waffling quite a bit. Um, all hail the hairy chair. It is quite the hairy chair, as a matter of fact. All right. Oh, that's right. They were getting ready for their apparition lessons. When Harry and Hermione arrived in the hall, Ron had come down with Lavender. They found that the tables had disappeared. Rain lashed against the high windows, and the enchanted ceiling swirled darkly above them as they assembled in front of Professors McGonagall, Snape, Flitwick, and Sprout, the heads of houses, and a small wizard whom Harry took to be the apparition instructor from the Ministry. He was oddly colourless, with transparent eyelashes, wispy hair, and an insubstantial air, as though a single gust of wind might blow him away. Harry wondered whether constant disappearances and reappearances had somehow diminished his substance, or whether his frail build was ideal for anyone wishing to vanish.
"Good morning,"
said the wizard from the Ministry, when all the students had arrived and the heads of houses called for quiet.
"My name is Wilkie Twyvid, and the heads of houses, and I shall be your ministry apparition instructor for the next 12 weeks. I hope to be able to prepare you for your apparition tests this time."
Malfoy! Be quiet and pay attention,
barked Professor McGonagall. Everybody looked around. Malfoy had flushed a dull pink. He looked furious as he stepped away from Crabbe, with whom he appeared to have been having a whispering argument. Harry glanced quickly at Snape, who also looked annoyed, though Harry strongly suspected that this was less because Malfoy's rudeness than the fact that McGonagall had reprimanded one of his house.
"By which time many of you may be ready to take your tests,"
Twycross continued, as though there had been no interruption. Hang on a second. No, not Harry Chair, it's Harry Cherry. Harry Cherry. Oh, I see. You lot are something else. Okay.
"As you may know, it is usually impossible to apparate or disapparate within Hogwarts. The headmaster has lifted this enchantment purely within the Great Hall for 1 hour, so as to enable you to practice. May I emphasize that you will not be able to apparate outside of the walls of this hall, and that you would be unwise to try. I would like each of you to place yourselves now so that you have a clear 5 feet of space in front of you."
There was a great scrambling and jostling as people separated, banged into each other, and ordered others out of their space. The heads of houses moved along the students, marshalling them into position and breaking up arguments.
Harry, where are you going?
Demanded Hermione, but Harry did not answer. He was moving quickly through the crowd, past the place where Professor Flitwick was making squeaky attempts to position a few Ravenclaws, all of whom wanted to be near the front, past Professor Sprout, who was chiving the Hufflepuffs into line, until, by dodging around Ernie Macmillan, he positioned himself right at the back of the crowd, directly behind Malfoy, who was taking advantage of the general upheaval to continue his argument with Crabbe, standing 5 feet away and looking mutinous.
I don't know how much longer, all right,
Malfoy shot at him, oblivious to Harry standing right behind him.
Taking longer than I thought it would.
Crabbe opened his mouth, but Malfoy appeared to second-guess what he was saying.
Look, it's none of your business what I'm doing, Crabbe. You, Goyle, just do what you're told and keep a lookout.
I tell my friends what I'm up to. They want to keep a lookout for me, Harry said, just loud enough for Malfoy to hear him. Malfoy spun around on the spot, his hand flying to his wand, but at the precise moment the four heads of house shouted, "Quiet!" and silence fell again. Malfoy turned slowly to face the front again.
"Thank you,"
said Twycross. It's a weird name. It's Twycross. Leave Cthulhu alone. Val, thank you for the DDs. Again, tips to the Tavern Keeper. Always appreciated your generosity. It's humbling. Thank you very much. Okay.
"Now then,"
he waved his wand. Old-fashioned wooden hoops instantly appeared on the floor in front of every student.
"the important thing to remember when apparating are the 3 Ds,"
said Twycross.
"destination, determination, deliberation. Step 1, fix your mind firmly upon the desired destination,"
said Twycross.
"In this case, the interior of your hoop. Kindly concentrate upon that destination now."
Everybody looked around furtively to check that everyone else was staring at their hoop, then hastily did as they were told. Harry gazed at the circular patch of dusty floor enclosed in his hoop, and tried hard to think of nothing else. This proved impossible, as he couldn't stop puzzling over what Malfoy was doing that needed lookouts.
"Step 2,
said Twycross.
"focus your determination to occupy the visualized space. Let your yearning to enter it flood from your mind to every particle of your body."
Harry glanced around surreptitiously. A little way to his left, Ernie Macmillan was contemplating his hoop so hard that his face was turning pink. It looked as though he was straining to lay a quaffle-sized egg. Harry bit back a laugh and hastily returned his gaze to his own hoop.
"Step 3,
said Twycross,
and only when I give the command. Turn on the spot and feel your way into nothingness, moving with deliberation. On my command. Now, 1.
Harry glanced around again. A lot of people were looking positively alarmed at being asked to operate so quickly.
2.
Harry tried to fix his thoughts on the hoop again. He had already forgotten what the 3D stood for.
3.
Harry spun on the spot, lost balance, and nearly fell over. He was not the only one. The whole hall was suddenly full of staggering people. Neville was flat on his back. Ernie Macmillan, the other hand, had done a kind of pirouetting leap into his hoop and looked momentarily thrilled until he caught sight of Dean Thomas roaring at him with laughter.
Never mind,
said Twycross dryly, who did not seem to have expected anything better.
Adjust your hoops, please, and back to your original positions.
The second attempt was no better than the first. The third was just as bad. Not until the fourth did anything exciting happen. There was a horrible screech of pain, and everybody looked around, terrified to see Susan Bones of Hufflepuff wobbling in her hoop, with her left leg still standing 5 feet away from where she had started. Heads of house converged on her, and there was a great bang and a puff of purple smoke, which cleared to reveal Susan sobbing, reunited with her leg, but looking horrified.
Splinching, or the separation of random body parts,
said Wilkie Twycross dispassionately,
occurs when the mind is insufficiently determined. You must concentrate continuously upon your destination and move without haste, but with deliberation, thus.
Twycross stepped forward, turned gracefully on the spot with his arms outstretched, and vanished into a swirl of robes, reappearing at the back of the hall.
Remember the 3 Ds,
He said.
and try again. 1, 2, 3.
But an hour later, Susan's splinching was the most interesting thing that had happened. Twycross did not seem discouraged. Fastening his cloak at his neck, he merely said,
Until next Saturday, everybody, please do not forget, destination, determination, deliberation.
and with that he waved his wand, vanishing the hoops, and walked out of the hall accompanied by Professor McGonagall. Talk broke out at once as people began moving toward the hall.
How did you do?
Asked Ron, hurrying towards Harry.
I think I felt something the last time I tried. Like kind of tingling in my feet. I expect your trainers are too small, 1-1.
Said a voice behind them, and Hermione stalked past, smirking.
No, I didn't feel anything.
Said Harry, ignoring this interruption.
But I don't care about that now. What do you mean you don't care? Don't you want to learn to apparate?
Said Ron incredulously.
I'm not fussed, really. I prefer flying.
Said Harry, glancing over his shoulder to see where Malfoy was, and speeding up as they came into the entrance hall.
Look, hurry up, will you? I got something I want to do.
Perplexed, Ron followed Harry back to Gryffindor Tower. At a run, they were temporarily detained by Peeves, who had jammed a door on the 4th floor shut and was refusing to let anyone pass until they set fire to their own pants. But Harry and Ron simply turned back and took one of their trusted shortcuts. Within 5 minutes, they were climbing through the portrait hole.
Are you going to tell me what you're doing, then?
Asked Ron, panting slightly.
Up here,
said Harry, and he crossed the common room and led the way through the door to the boys' staircase. The dormitory was, as Harry had hoped, empty. He flung open his trunk and began rummaging in it, while Ron watched impatiently.
Harry, Malfoy's using Crabbe and Goyle as lookouts. He was arguing with Crabbe just now. I want to know. Aha!
He found it, a folded square of apparently blank parchment, which he now smoothed out and tapped with the tip of his wand.
I solemnly swear I'm up to no good. Or Malfoy is, anyway.
At once the Marauder's map appeared on the parchment surface. Here was a detailed plan of every one of the castle's floors, and moving around it were the tiny black labelled dots that signified each of the castle's occupants.
Help me find Malfoy,
said Harry urgently. He laid the map upon his bed, and he and Ron leaned over it, searching.
There,
said Ron a minute or so after.
He's in Slytherin common room. Look, with Parkinson, Zabini, Crabbe and Goyle.
Harry looked down at the map, disappointed, but rallied almost at once.
Well, I'm keeping an eye on him from now on,
he said firmly.
And the moment I see him lurking somewhere with Crabbe and Goyle keeping watch outside, it'll be on with the old invisibility cloak and off to find out what he's...
He broke off as Neville entered the dormitory, bringing with him a strong smell of singed material, and began rummaging in his trunk for a fresh pair of pants. So I have a birthday and a life day. So you were born, and then 3 days after your birth you were breathing by yourself. So a birthday and a life day. That's very interesting. That's a great way to look at it. I assume that's Jacques. Thank you for the follow over on Twitch. Welcome to the tavern, my friend. I am Castle, this is my tavern, and here we talk about myth and lore and tales of yore. Every now and again, I'll read you all a bedtime story. As you are undoubtedly able to discern for yourself, we are reading Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, and we read a bunch of different things. 2 days to celebrate, yes indeed. I was dead for 3 days after my birth. That's a heck of a thing, Bear. I'm so glad to be a part of the tavern, and I'm glad to have you. Well, it's a good place to be. It's my favorite place to be sure. All right. Doesn't look like I've missed anything else. Despite his determination to catch Malfoy out, Harry had no luck at all over the next couple of weeks. Although he consulted the map as often as he could, sometimes making unnecessary visits to the bathroom between lessons to search it, he did not once see Malfoy anywhere suspicious. Admittedly, he spotted Crabbe and Goyle moving around the castle on their own more often than usual, sometimes remaining stationary in deserted corridors, but at these times Malfoy was not only not near them, but impossible to locate on the map at all. This was most mysterious. Harry toyed with the possibility that Malfoy was leaving the school grounds, but could not see how he could be doing it, given the very high level of security now operating within the castle. He could only suppose that he was missing Malfoy amongst the hundreds of tiny black dots upon the map. As for the fact that Malfoy, Crabbe, and Goyle appeared to be going their different ways when they were usually inseparable, these things happened as people got older. Ron and Hermione, Harry reflected sadly, were living proof. I think we're all glad that Baird had a life day. His birthday and his life day, I think, are well worth celebrating. Where was I? February moved toward March with no change in the weather except for that it became windy as well as wet. To general indignation, a sign went up on all common room notice boards that the next trip to Hogsmeade had been cancelled, and Ron was furious. "It was on my birthday," he said. "I was looking forward to that." "It's not a surprise, though, is it?" said Harry. "Not after what happened with Katie." She still had not returned from St. Mungo's. What was more, further disappearances had been reported in the Daily Prophet, including several relatives of students at Hogwarts. "But now all I got to look forward to is stupid apparition," said Ron grumpily. "Big birthday treat." 3 lessons on, apparition was proving as difficult as ever. Though a few more people managed to splinch themselves, frustration was running high, and there was a certain amount of ill feeling toward Wilkie Twycross and his 3 Ds, which had inspired a number of nicknames for him, the politest of which were Dog Breath and Dunghead. "Happy birthday, Ron," said Harry, when they were woken on the 1st of March by Seamus and Dean leaving noisily for breakfast. "Have a present." He threw a package across Ron's bed, where it joined a small pile of them that must, Harry assumed, have been delivered by the house elves in the night. "Cheers," said Ron drowsily, as he ripped off the paper. Harry got out of bed, opened his own trunk, and began rummaging in it for the Marauder's map, which he had hid after every use. He turfed out half the contents of the trunk before he found it beneath the rolled-up socks in which he was still keeping his bottle of lucky potion, Felix Felicis. "Right," he murmured, taking it back to the bed with him, tapping it quietly, and murmuring, "I solemnly swear I'm up to no good," so that Neville, who was passing the foot of his bed at the time, would not hear. "Nice one, Harry," said Ron enthusiastically, waving the pair of Quidditch keeper's gloves Harry had given him. "No problem," Harry said absent-mindedly, as he searched the Slytherin dormitory closely for Malfoy. "Hey, I don't think he's in bed." Ron did not answer. He was too busy unwrapping presents, every now and then letting out an exclamation of pleasure. "Seriously good haul this year," he announced, holding up a heavy gold watch and odd symbols around the edge, and a tiny moving stars instead of hands.
See what Mom and Dad got me? Blimey. I think I'll come of age next year too.
Cool, Harry muttered, sparing the watch a glance before peering more closely at the map. Where was Malfoy? He did not seem to be at the Slytherin table in the Great Hall eating breakfast. He was nowhere near Snape, who was sitting in his study. He wasn't in any of the bathrooms or in the hospital wing.
Want one?
Said Ron thickly, holding out a box of chocolate cauldrons.
No thanks, said Harry, looking up.
Malfoy's gone again.
Can't have,
said Ron, stuffing a second cauldron into his mouth as he slid out of bed to get dressed.
Come on, if you don't hurry up, you'll have to apparate on an empty stomach. Might make it easier, I suppose.
Ron looked thoughtfully at the box of chocolate cauldrons, then he shrugged and helped himself to a third. Harry tapped them up with his wand, muttered,
Mischief managed.
Though it hadn't been. He got dressed, thinking hard. There had to be an explanation for Malfoy's periodic disappearances. But he simply could not think what it would be. The best way to find out would be to tail him, but even with the invisibility cloak, that was an impractical idea. Harry had lessons, Quidditch practice, homework, and apparition. He could not follow Malfoy around the school all day without his absence being remarked upon.
Ready?
Said Ron.
Oh, ready, he said to Ron.
He was halfway to the dormitory door when he realized that Ron had not moved, but was leaning on his bedpost, staring out into the rain-washed window with a strangely unfocused look on his face.
Ron, breakfast. I'm not hungry.
Harry stared at him.
I thought you just said... Well, all right, I'll come down with you, but Ron said, I don't want to eat.
Harry scrutinized him suspiciously.
You've just eaten half a box of chocolate cauldrons, haven't you? It's not that,
Ron sighed again.
You wouldn't understand.
Fair enough, said Harry, albeit puzzled as he turned to open the door.
Harry,
said Ron suddenly.
What? Harry, I can't stand it. You can't stand what?
He asked, now starting to feel definitely alarmed. Ron was rather pale, and he looked as though he was about to be sick.
I can't stop thinking about her,
said Ron hoarsely. Harry gaped at him. He had not expected this, and was not sure he wanted to hear it. Friends they might be, but if Ron started calling Lavender Lav-Lav, he would have to put his foot down. Val, thank you for the roses and sheer bliss. Thank you for the hard meat. Tips to the tavern keeper are always appreciated. And for everyone who likes and shares the story time while my head is down, I appreciate you. Thank you very much, my friends. It is definitely helpful. Just a second, the ladies just... Good night, Jazz. I hope that your head feels better. Everyone says hello and welcome home, love. She says hello. She's checking on the boy. Okay, 2 baskets of laundry folded, sorted away. Socks for a 3rd basket. Now they're done and dealt with. To keep going or rest my back. Probably rest your back for a bit. Don't overdo it. Especially when you're sick.
He's so stuffy today. He's gonna get all clean.
He just needs to sleep as much as he can. And drink a bunch of tea. Hot tea. Okay, where was I? Why does that stop you from having breakfast? Harry asked, trying to inject a note of common sense into the proceedings. I don't think she knows I exist, said Ron with a desperate gesture. No, she definitely knows you exist, said Harry, bewildered. She keeps snogging you, doesn't she? Ron blinked. Who are you talking about? Who are you talking about? Said Harry, with an increasing sense of all reason had dropped out of the conversation. Ramilda Vane, said Ron softly. His whole face seemed to illuminate as he said it, as though hit by a ray of the purest sunlight. They stared at each other for almost a whole minute before Harry said, This is a joke, right? You're joking? I think, Harry, I think I love her, said Ron in a strangled voice. Okay, said Harry, walking up to Ron to get a better look at the glazed eyes and pallid complexion. Okay, say that again with a straight face. I love her, repeated Ron breathlessly. Have you seen her hair? It's all black and shiny and silky in her eyes, her big dark eyes, and her... This is really funny and everything, said Harry impatiently. But the joke's over, all right? Drop it. Please, thank you for the subscription. I appreciate you. Again, tips to the tavern keeper are always appreciated. Ah, the boy, I love that precious baby boy. Well, I guess he is our baby boy, but he's 15. He's not necessarily a baby. Chicken soup for the boy. Jewish penicillin. That's funny, Bear. Castle, how are you this evening? I feel like it's been ages, honestly. I'm well. The lady and I have been swamped catching up with work and getting everything back in order after nearly a month and a half of not being able to work properly. So getting our schedule back solid has been a hell of a thing, but we're doing well. The boy is going to be taking his first solo trip this weekend. He's going to visit his grandparents in Northern California, and then he's going to be going all the way out to Ohio to visit more grandparents out that way. So we're getting him ready for that. Oh yeah, he was ranting and rambling about the celery in his soup while he was on playing games with his mother last night. He had chicken noodle soup with celery and carrots in it, and he was rambling about celery as if it were the bubonic plague he was being forced to eat. It is beautiful up north, yes. Retro Americana, hello and welcome in. So very glad that you could join us. Grab a seat, fill your glass. We're not quite done. We've still got a ways to go before we're done with story time. So you got a while to settle in. That's fair enough, Bear. That's fair enough. Oop. I guess I made myself bleed. It's not good. All right. Where was I? He turned to leave, and he had got 2 steps towards the door when a crashing blow hit him in the right ear, staggering. He looked around, and Ron's fist was drawn right back, His face contorted with rage, and he was about to strike again. Harry reacted instinctively. His wand was out of his pocket, and the incantation sprang to his mind without conscious thought. Levi Corpus! Ron yelled as his heel was wrenched upward once more, and he dangled helplessly upside down, his robes hanging off of him. What was that for? You insulted her, Harry. You said it was a joke, Ron shouted, who was now slowly turning purple in the face as all the blood rushed to his head. This is insane, said Harry. What's gotten into... And then he saw the box lying open on Ron's bed, and the truth hit him with the force of a stampeding troll. Where did you get those chocolate cauldrons? They were a birthday present, shouted Ron, revolving slowly in midair as he struggled to get free. I offered you one, didn't I? You just picked them up off the floor, didn't you? They've fallen off my bed, all right. Let me go. They didn't fall off your bed, you prat. Don't you understand? They were mine. I chucked them out of my trunk when I was looking for the map. They're the chocolate cauldrons Romilda gave me before Christmas. And they're all sparked with love potion. But only one word seemed to have registered with Ron. Romilda? He repeated. Did you say Romilda? Harry, do you know her? Can you introduce me? Harry stared at the dangling rod, whose face now looked tremendously hopeful, and fought a strong desire to laugh. A part of him, the part closest to his throbbing right ear, was quite keen on the idea of letting Ron down and watching him run amok until the effects of the potion wore off. But, on the other hand, they were supposed to be friends. Ron had not been himself when he had attacked, and Harry thought that he would deserve another punching if he permitted Ron to declare undying love for Romilda Vane. Yeah, I'll introduce you, said Harry, thinking fast. I'm going to let you down now, okay? He sent Ron crashing to the floor. His ear did hurt quite a lot, but Ron simply bounded to his feet again, grinning. She'll be in Slughorn's office, Harry said confidently, leading the way to the door. Why will she be there? Said Ron anxiously, hurrying to keep up. Oh, she has extra potions lessons with him, said Harry, inventing wildly. Maybe I could ask if I can have them with her, said Ron eagerly. Great idea, said Harry. Lavender was waiting beside the portrait hole, a complication Harry had not foreseen. You're late, Won-Won, she pouted. I got you a birthday. Leave me alone, said Ron impatiently. Harry's going to introduce me to Romilda Vane. And without another word to her, he pushed away the portrait hole. Harry tried to make an apologetic face to Lavender, but it might have turned out simply amused, because she looked more offended than ever as the fat lady swung shut behind them. Harry had been slightly worried that Slughorn might be at breakfast, but he answered his office door at the first knock, wearing a green velvet dressing gown and a matching nightcap, looking rather bleary-eyed. Harry, he mumbled. It's very early for a cold. I generally sleep late on Saturday. No, Professor, I'm really sorry to disturb you, said Harry as quietly as possible, while Ron stood on tiptoe, attempting to see past Slughorn into his room. But my friend Ron swallowed a love potion by mistake. You couldn't make him an antidote, could you? I tried to take him to Madame Pomfrey, but we're not supposed to have anything from Weasley's Wizard Wheezes and, awkward questions. I'd have thought you could have whipped something up of a remedy, Harry. Expert potioneer like you. Said Harry, somewhat distracted by the fact that Ron was now elbowing him in the ribs in an attempt to force his way into the room. Well, I've never mixed an antidote for a love potion, sir, and by the time I get it right, Ron might do something serious. Hopefully, Ron chose this moment to moan. I can't see her, Harry. Is he hiding her?
Was this potion within date?
Asked Slughorn, now eyeing Ron with professional interest.
They can strengthen, you know, the longer they're kept.
Well, that would explain a lot, panted Harry, now positively wrestling with Ron to keep him from knocking Slughorn over. It's his birthday, Professor, he added imploringly.
Oh, all right, come in then, come in,
said Slughorn, relenting.
Got the necessary here in my bag. It's not a difficult antidote.
Ron burst through the door. Oop, that's again very loud. Apologies, give me a second. Destiny, love, have a good night. Rest well, and may you rise tomorrow ready to face the day. I hope that all goes well. Hey, I'm 56 and I'm still my mom's baby. It's fair enough. It's fair enough, Bear. Ron burst through the door into Slughorn's overheated, crowded study, tripped over a tassel-footed stool and regained his balance by seizing Harry around the neck and muttered, "She didn't say that, did she?" "She's not here yet," said Harry, watching Slughorn opening his potion kit and adding a few pinches of this and that to a small crystal bottle. "Oh, that's good," said Ron fervently. "How do I look?"
"Very handsome,"
said Slughorn smoothly, handing Ron a glass of clear liquid.
"Now drink that up. It's a tonic for the nerves. Keep you calm when she arrives, you know."
"Brilliant," said Ron eagerly, and he gulped down the antidote noisily. Harry and Slughorn watched him, and for a moment Ron beamed at them. Then, very slowly, his grin sagged and vanished, and it was replaced by an expression of utmost horror. "Back to normal, then," said Harry, grinning. Slughorn chuckled. "Thanks a lot, Professor."
"Don't mention it, my boy, don't mention it,"
said Slughorn as Ron collapsed in a nearby armchair, looking devastated.
"Pick me up, that's what he needs,"
Slughorn continued, now bustling over to a table loaded with drinks.
"Got butterbeer, I've got wine. I've got one last bottle of this oak matured mead. Meant to give that to Dumbledore for Christmas. Ah, well," he shrugged. "He can't miss what he's never had. Why don't we open it now and celebrate Mr. Weasley's birthday? Nothing like a fine spirit to chase away the pangs of disappointed love."
He chortled again, and Harry joined in. This was the first time he'd found himself almost alone with Slughorn since his disastrous first attempt to extract the true memory from him. Perhaps if he could just keep Slughorn in a good mood. Perhaps if they got through enough of the oak-matured mead.
"There you are, then,"
said Slughorn, handing Harry and Ron a glass of mead, each before raising his own.
"Well, a very happy birthday, Ralph."
"Ron," whispered Harry, but Ron, who did not appear to be listening to the toast, had already thrown the mead into his mouth and swallowed it. There was 1 second, hardly more than a heartbeat, in which Harry knew there was something terribly wrong, and Slughorn, it seemed, did not.
"And may you have many more."
"Ron!" Ron had dropped his glass. He half rose from his chair and then crumpled, his extremities jerking uncontrollably. Foam was dripping from his mouth, and his eyes were bulging from their sockets. "Professor!" said Harry, bellowing. "Do something!" But Slughorn seemed paralyzed by shock. Ron twitched and choked. His skin was turning blue. But, sputtered Slughorn. Harry leapt over the table and sprinted towards Slughorn's open potion kit, pulling out jars and pouches while the terrible sound of Ron gargling breath filled the room, and then he found it. A shriveled, kidney-like stone Slughorn had taken from him in potions. He hurtled back to Ron's sides, wrenched open his jaw, and thrust the bezoar into his mouth. Ron gave a great shudder, a rattling gasp, and his body became limp and still. And so ends Chapter 18 of Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. 16 years olds being given mead by a teacher. Well, I mean, in the 90s, what was the drinking age in England? I think it was actually 16 with parental supervision, if I'm not mistaken.
Does a teacher count as parental supervision?
I mean, I guess it depends on the school. Because back in the day, if you were in a school that had a headmaster and you like lived there, then for sake of decision making, your headmaster or your head of house was technically a parent. So, guess it would have depended.
So hopefully it was a very light mood.
When I was there in the 80s, I could have a half pint with my mom present. Right. So it might have been fine. I mean, when I was a boy, you could get a pint if you had a parent with you when you were 14 in Ireland. Yeah, 13, 14 years old. So, not exactly responsible drinkers are we from the UK. What you looking for, baby?
Myself.
Huh?
Myself.
Your sieve?
Yeah, myself.
It's hanging up, lovely.
Let's see. Do we have one of my mom's?
Possibly.
Oh, there's stuff in it.
Everett might have used it and then not cleaned it. It's always a possibility. Alright, my friends. Well, we've finished with Harry Potter for the evening. We have about 45 minutes left in the normal story time. Should we continue with a bit of Silverthorn before we head off to bed? Because I don't know how long this next chapter in Silverthorn is. Oh, it's not quite long. Let's see. It's 46, 31. Yeah, this next chapter in Silverthorn's only 15 pages. We could probably do that in about an hour.
Only an hour.
Yeah. I mean, I was working in some of my uncle's pubs when I was like 7 or 8 years old. Not serving drinks, but I was like sweeping up and whatnot. So, and some of my cousins were serving drinks at 14, 15 years old. So, it's not terribly unusual. Yeah, I think we can allow for song time. We'll do. I think we do 2 songs now, and then we do this, and then we can do 2 or 3 more songs at the end. How's that sound to everybody? I'll pop up, I'll stretch, and then I'll come back 5 minutes. I'll run another run of ads over on Twitch so that we're not interrupted. All right, let's do it then. We'll do a chapter of Silverthorn tonight since we missed Thursday. Let me put you all on mute, and I'll switch the images. Let's see, over on TikTok, that's going to be just the tavern, I think. Yes, and then over on yeah. Let me shift these things around before I get up so I don't forget, because then everybody's going to be confused as to what we're doing. I'm gonna change this real quick. That's all well and good. All right. Move this over here. Going to mute that. And then bring that back up. Beautiful. And then we'll change this to... Lovely. Misty Mountain? Of course, Esther, of course. Wouldn't be a story time without it, now would it? Alright. I might need to adjust this. No. Oh, hit the wrong button, that's why. There we go. Good lord, it's so loud.
Did we give Sean the rest of our lozenges?
Maybe? Alright, friends. Bear with me. I'm going to take about 5 minutes to get up and stretch and refresh my drink and whatnot, and then I will be right back. I've taken request notes. Thank you, Bear. I appreciate you. We'll be right back. The chair looks like a giant faceless Muppet. Correction, a giant skinned Muppet. Muppet roadkill. You guys are something else. No, Maria, we're not done yet. We're gonna do a little bit more. We're gonna do a couple of songs, because in between chapters or stories we typically do songs. And then after that we will do a chapter in Silverthorn by Raymond E. Feist. Should be good fun. So organizing cost to keep going with the momentum. All right. What did it turn out that we wanted to do for songs? I know that Esther had requested Misty Mountain, and I did listen to Got No Beard, but let me see. Give me just a second, Bear. Do you know Martin said to his man, it's a very silly old folk song? Yeah, +1 for Hoist Up the Thing. Yeah, so Got No Beard is sort of, it's in the same sort of format as like Rattling Bog. I think I could probably do it. It's not going to sound like it does when the Longest Johns do it, but I can probably do it. The ghost of Vincent Price again. Hello. Welcome in. So yeah, we could probably do Got No Beard, Misty Mountain, and Hoist Up the Thing, because none of them are particularly long. Let's see. I take that back. Got No Beard is very long. That's alright. We can do it. We can do it. Let's do Hoist Up the Thing, because that was the first request, and Bear has been waiting for Got No Beard for a while. Yeah, it's in that sort of like cumulative format that some of the faster old shanties have. And they're not common anymore, but yeah, I think we can manage it, Bear. So let's do Hoist Up the Thing first. I honestly, I want to see if I can manage it, Bear. I want to see if I can manage it. So this is called Hoist Up a Thing. It's about a young man with no prospects for work, who is not particularly good at anything, who lies and cheats his way into being the captain of a ship. And it goes just about as well as you could imagine. And this is by the Longest Johns. Actually, both of them are by the Longest Johns. So if you know the song, join along. And if you want to look up the lyrics, you're welcome to try and sing along that way. Fresh out of college with grades straight from hell, I browse for a trade at which I could excel, and add for a ship in need of some manning, men sails in purpose but lacking a captain. What luck, says I, to find such good fortune? A few white lies later I run down the pier. I bought me a coat and a cutlass or two, jumped on the deck and I yelled at the crew. Hoist up the thing, batten down the what's-it. What's that thing spinning? Somebody should stop it. Turn hard to port. That's not port, now I've got it. Trust me, I'm in control. I can't sing the shanties, it has to be said, and all of that grog, it goes straight to my head. Whale meat is gross and I miss a girl's laugh. 5 weeks at sea and even Dave seems a catch. Hoist up the thing, batten down the what's-it. What's that thing spinning? Somebody should stop it. Turn hard to port. That's not port, now I've got it. Trust me, I'm in control. We've hit icy waters, no land to be seen. The food's getting low and the beer has gone green. There's murmurs of discontent under the deck. If I don't act fast, it could be my neck. So pull up the charts and those weird gold machines. I see what it says, but I've no clue what it means. Just pull on some levers and yank on some chains. Feign a bad back till we've landed again. Hoist up the thing, batten down the what's-it. What's that thing spinning? Somebody should stop it. Turn hard to port. That's not port, now I've got it. Trust me, I'm in control. Hoist up the thing, batten down the what's-it. What's that thing spinning? Somebody should stop it. Turn hard to port. That's not port, now I've got it. Trust me, I'm in control. Hoist up the thing, batten down the what's-it. What's that thing spinning? Somebody should stop it. Turn hard to port. This is jail, now I've got it. Trust me, I'm in control. Ah, help me! That's how the song is supposed to end. I never do that last verse, but it's a pretty good one. Yeah, we can get Misty Mountain in. It's no big. But thank you for the song, my friends. Cheers. Val, thank you for the roses, love. Appreciate you for that. Tips to the tavern keeper, always appreciated. Almost missed it. My phone timed out. I'm glad you made it back, Milu. Alright, let's see if we can do Got No Beard. I once met a man who said he was a fan. He wanted to sing in my shanty band. But the bottom of his face looked so weird. There was skin from his chin that I loathed and there was skin on his chin that I loathed and feared. From his crown to his ear he was most sincere, but you can't sing the shanties if you got no beard. Got no beard, you've got no beard, you can't sing the shanties if you've got no beard. Got no beard, you've got no beard, you can't sing the shanties if you've got no beard. I once met a girl who heard sea songs. She came to the show and she sang along. But the timing of the shout was slow. She was graced with a face like a morning glow. But a holler was a blow from the very front row, said, "You can't sing the shanties if you can't shout ho." Can't shout ho, you can't shout ho, you can't sing the shanties if you can't shout ho. Can't shout ho, you can't shout ho, can't sing the shanties if you can't shout ho. And you've got no beard. I once met a man on a weird machine, had wheels and a bell and no mast to be seen. He was shouting from a pad of notes, and the wheels got caught on his overcoat. And he fell from the pier, clawing at his throat. You can't sing the shanties if you don't own a boat. Don't own a boat, you don't own a boat. You can't sing the shanties if you don't own a boat. Don't own a boat, you don't own a boat, you can't sing the shanties if you don't own a boat, and you can't shout ho, and you've got no beard. My blessed mother-in-law remembered the nautical directions by the simple method of there's no port left. That's very funny, Bear. That's very funny. I once met a bloke on a tavern floor. He'd had 10 beers, but I had 10 more. And his little piggy face was pink. He tried to shout the words, but they were all out of sync. With a voice so bad it'll make you think that you can't sing the shanties if you can't hold your drink. Can't hold a drink, you can't hold a drink, you can't sing the shanties if you can't hold your drink. You can't hold a drink, you can't hold your drink. You can't sing the shanties if you can't hold a drink, and you don't have a boat, and you can't shout ho, and you don't got a beard. And you've got no beard, sorry, gotta make sure that it's properly done. I once met a sailor all big and broad, with an eye-patch parrot and a long curved sword. He had a chest like a powder keg, and with both shoes, and he smelled like eggs. I expected he'd look better with a wooden peg, 'cause you can't sing shanties if you've got 2 legs. That's probably why we're all so bad at it, guys, 'cause we've all got 2 legs. Got 2 legs, you've got 2 legs, you can't sing the shanties if you've got 2 legs. Got 2 legs, you've got 2 legs, you can't sing the shanties if you've got 2 legs, and you can't hold a drink, and and you don't own a boat, and you can't shout ho, and you've got no beard. Well, Anna's got no beard, and Dave has a bike. Robbie's father-in-law has boats, but he won't sing on the mic. And JD can't shout ho because his wife takes much offense, and Dundee's got 2 beautiful hairy legs. But there's no reason good enough not to join us, so sing along with the very chorus. 2, 3, 4, apparently I'm supposed to count. Got no beard, you've got no beard, you can't sing the shanties if you've got no beard. Got no beard, you've got no beard, you can't sing the shanties if you've got no beard. Got no beard, you've got no beard, you can't sing the shanties if you've got no beard. Got no beard, you've got no beard, you can't sing the shanties if you've got no beard, and you've got 2 legs, and you can't hold a drink, and you don't own a boat, and you can't shout ho, and you've got no beard. Thank you for the song, my friends. That one was absolutely silly. I like it a lot. That's definitely going in our silly list. Alright, let's do Misty Mountain, then get back into Silverthorn, friends. So that Esther and Elsie can get their, Is this Game of Thrones? Absolutely not. We're not paid nearly that much. But welcome in, Steve. So very glad that you could join us. I was gonna do more at the end. What do you have? If it's shorter, I'll throw it in now, and then we might just do fewer songs at the end. Gunnar, thanks for giving the Gold Castle. Huzzah! Cheers, my friend. Always a pleasure. All right, we're doing the shorter version of Misty Mountain. I get so chuffed when I can add to the silly list. We need more. We need more for the silly list. Because I think we have the Mermaid Song. We have Sick Note, Peter Street, 7 Drunken Nights, the Chandler's Wife. Yeah, the Mermaid one is good. I like the Mermaid one. And the Scotsman, I think those are the ones that we have. If you can wait till the end, that'll be for the better. Well, Edith, I am Castle. This is my tavern, and here we talk about myth and lore and tales of yore. We sing songs, and every now and again I read you all a bedtime story. Right now we are in the singing song segment of that, but I'll be back to reading here in a minute. I am searching, I promise. Well, but which one? What did you want to sing with, Gunnar? My brain shut off there for a second. Alright, we're doing the Peter Hollins version of Misty Mountains. So if you know the words, sing along. Far over the misty mountains cold, to dungeons deep and caverns old. We must away ere break of day to find a long forgotten gold. The pines were roaring on the height, the winds were moaning in the night. The fire was red, it flaming spread. The trees like torches blazed with light. The wind was on the withered heath, but in the forest stirred no leaf. Their shadows lay, be night or day, and dark things silent crept beneath. The wind went on from west to east, but in the forest all movement in the forest ceased, but shrill and harsh across the marsh, its whistling voices were released. Farewell we call to hearth and hall, the wind may blow and rain may fall. We must away ere break of day, far o'er the wood and mountain tall, far over the misty mountains cold, to dungeons deep and caverns old, we must away ere break of day, to find a long forgotten gold. Thank you for the songs, my friends. Always absolutely lovely. Oh dear, I'm kind of in that I need to not be around because I'm too weird mood again. Not a good thing for me at all, but I tend to isolate when it's the worst possible thing for me, so don't worry about it. I know that's sort of like the easier said than done sort of thing, but you don't need to worry about that here, Faywitch. If any of you were ever being obnoxious, if any of you were ever being too much, I would tell you. I'm not the kind of person who minces words. If anybody is ever causing issues in the community, I pull them aside and I tell them. And if they're causing issues in public, I will, if you are actively causing problems with the Talvin community, I will make sure I take care of it in front of everyone to make an example of it. so that people know how they are not supposed to act when in the tavern. That's alright, Esther, I'm glad you enjoyed it. So if you were causing problems, if you were being too weird for things, I would tell you. Yes, if any of you were being bothersome or being too much, I would make a point. If it's something that was subtle, I would talk to you about it privately. And if it's something that was legitimately making everyone upset, I would bring it up in front of everybody so everyone knows that that sort of behavior is not acceptable. Long story short, people looking at my screen over my shoulder right now. Oh, I see, Matty, I see. Castle, you don't need to hint. I know I've been too much today, chatting even more than Matty. Sketchy subject matter. You're fine, Milu, you're fine. You guys are allowed to come in and have your conversations with each other in here. If ever it's getting out of hand, I mean, unless you said something I didn't notice, that's out of hand, but otherwise, you guys are fine. Yeah, Johnny Lever's not long. We can do that one right now. We can do that right now. I'm going to go eat. I'll be back shortly. Alright, Tyson, we're going to do one more song and then we're going to get into Silverthorn. I think we can do probably... We can probably be done by the 3:30 mark. No, just being smart. Yeah, which is to be expected in this crew, I think. One of these days, I'm going to do the full version of Leave Her Johnny, because Leave Her Johnny is a very long song. I feel stupid for even bringing that up. I just need someone to know somewhat where I'm at mentally. And I just said, you're going to go through these things mentally where you're going to feel off, you're going to have your ups and downs. That's human. It's very human to have your ups and downs. You're going to be sad, you're going to be happy, you're going to feel bad about yourself. And especially these days where young people are so overstimulated to a point that our brains feel... We feel like we're not doing what we're supposed to do if we're not being stimulated. Very much so. Don't... Ghost here speaks to herself. I responded to you, Esther. You said thank you for the song. I fell asleep. It's okay that you fell asleep. I'm glad you enjoyed the song. I've honestly been chatting for breaks, but I'm still cleaning and decluttering when we have empty kitchen. Yes, Molly? No, I think all the stuff in there is unplugged. Good night, everyone. It's almost 1 a.m. where I live. Have a great night, everyone. Val, thank you for the Dini. Thank you for all of the gifts over on TikTok. Your generosity is most appreciated. Rest well, and may you rise tomorrow ready to face the day. Let me send you off with one more song. We'll do one more song as you head out to hopefully lull you to sleep. I'm just being silly about talking to myself. I know you are, Esther. Only up and down I have is cleaning Elsie's yeah, there's definitely an up and down, that's to be sure. I thought I heard the old man say, leave her, Johnny, leave her. Tomorrow you will get your pay, and it's time for us to leave her. Leave her, Johnny, leave her. Oh, leave her, Johnny, leave her. For the voyage is long and the winds don't blow, and it's time for us to leave her. Oh, the wind was foul and the sea ran high. Leave her, Johnny, leave her. She shipped it green and none went by, and it's time for us to leave her. Leave her, Johnny, leave her. Oh, leave her, Johnny, leave her. For the voyage is long and the winds don't blow, and it's time for us to leave her. I hate to sail on this rotten town. Leave her, Johnny, leave her. No grog allowed and rotten grub, and it's time for us to leave her. Leave her, Johnny, leave her. Oh, leave her, Johnny, leave her, for the voyage is long and the winds don't blow, and it's time for us to leave her. We swear by our oath, for want of more, leave her, Johnny, leave her. But now we're through, so we'll go on shore, and it's time for us to leave her. Leave her, Johnny, leave her. Oh, whoa. Oh, leave her, Johnny, leave her. For the voyage is long and the winds don't blow, and it's time for us to leave her. Thank you for the applause, Val. Have a good night. I cracked that a bit on the end. Cheers, Gunnar. Thank you for the song, my friend. Alright, let us return to Silverthorn, boys and girls. No, I'm good. I'm still getting used to, because we had that whole month where we were barely doing anything. And hopefully I'm not getting sick. Yeah, hopefully I'm not getting sick. I don't feel ill, but I usually don't feel ill until it's already been upon me for a while. Alright, friends, now we shall return to the world of Silverthorn, the land of Midkemia, where when we last left off, they had discovered that the Silverthorn poison came from the land of Elvandar, and that the only place that might have an ability to cure the Princess Anita would be the elves. So this next chapter is appropriately named Elvandar. And we are headed in... Don't say it, cancel your Mars yourself. Yeah, I hope not. After all of the work we've done to get back on track, I really don't want to get sick. But I'm fine. I just my voice is still not used to these long reading and talking sessions because we've been out of it for so long that I'm getting my resilience back up. So I'm absolutely all right. Okay, I'm a bit more free. Good. Cool season hasn't started yet. Sickness only really happens during that time. It does tend to be a lot worse during those periods. Yes, absolutely. Okay, let us continue. Chapter 14 of Silverthorn, Elvandar. The forest was silent. Large branches, ancient beyond memory, arched high overhead, blocking out most of the day's sunlight. The surrounding environment revealed a soft green glow devoid of direct shadows and full of deep recesses of dimly perceived paths winding away. They had been in the elven forest for over 2 hours, since mid-morning, and as of yet had seen no sign of an elf. Martin had thought that they would be intercepted shortly after crossing the River Crydy. Baru spurred the horse forward and pulled, even with Martin and Arutha. "I think we're being watched," said the Hadati. Martin said, "Some minutes now. I only caught a glimpse a while ago." Wait. No, okay, sorry, Martin is... "Some minutes now. I only caught a glimpse a while ago." "If the elves are watching us, why don't they come forward?" asked Jimmy. Martin said, "It may not be the elves who watch us. We will not be completely free from care until we are within the bounds of Elvandar. Keep alert." For several minutes they rode. Even the chirping birds ceased their noise. The forest seemed to be holding its breath. Martin and Ruther pushed their mounts through the narrow paths, barely wide enough for a man afoot. Suddenly, the silence was broken by a raucous hooting, punctuated by shrieks. A stone came hurling past Baru's head, and a storm of rocks, twigs, and sticks followed. Dozens of small, hairy figures jumped from behind trees and brush, howling furiously while pelting the riders with missiles. Yes, I was going to uh I was going to only do one tonight, but we didn't get to do on Tuesday, so the next chapter is short, so I figured we would do a short chapter before we end off today, Petra. And also, hello. It's good to see you. I have not, Bear. I have not managed to yet. Arutha charged forward, fighting to keep his mount under control, as did the others. He steered through the trees while ducking under branches. As he moved forward, 4 or 5 child-sized creatures, they shrieked in terror and leapt away in different directions. Arutha singled out one and rode up behind it. The creature found itself blocked by deadfall, a jumbled mass of fallen trees, heavy brush, and a large rock. It turned to face the prince. Arutha had his sword drawn and reined in, ready to strike. Then all anger flowed out of him at the sight before him. The creature made no effort to attack, but instead backed as far as possible into the tangle, an expression of pure terror on its face. It was very man-like, its face, with large, soft brown eyes, a short but human nose with a wide-set mouth. The creature's lips were drawn back into a mock snarl, showing an impressive arrangement of teeth. But the eyes were wide with fear, and large tears flowed down its hairy cheeks. Otherwise, it looked like a small ape or a large monkey. A loud racket erupted around Arutha as more of the small man-things surrounded them. They howled fiercely, pounding the ground with savage fury, but Arutha saw it was all show. There was no real threat in their actions. Several feigned attacks, but ran shrieking in terror if Arutha turned to face them. The others came riding up behind, and the little creature Arutha had trapped cried piteously. Baru pulled up alongside the prince and said, "As soon as you charged, these others fled after you." The riders could see that the gathered creatures were abandoning their mock fury, and their expressions were now concerned. They chattered to one another in what sounded like words. Arutha put away his sword. "We will not hurt you." As if they understood, the creatures quieted. The one who was trapped watched guardedly. Jimmy said, "What are they?" Martin said, "I don't know. Man or boy, I've hunted these woods, and I've never seen their like." Who is this talking? "They are Gwale, Martin Longbow." The riders turned in their saddles and were greeted by the sight of a company of 5 elves. One of the creatures raced to stand before the elves, and he pointed an indicating finger towards the riders. In a sing-song voice, he said, "Callan, man's come. Hurt Ralala. Make stop hurt her." Martin left his horse. "Well met, Callan." He and the elf embraced, and the other elves greeted him in turn. Then Martin led them to where his companions waited and said, "Callan, you remember my brother?" "Greetings, Prince of Krondor." "Greetings, Elf Prince." He cast a sidelong glance at the surrounding Gwali. "You saved us from being overwhelmed." Callan smiled. "I doubt it. You look a capable company." He came up to Arutha. "It has been a while since we last spoke. What brings you to our forest, Arutha? and with so strange an entourage? Where are your guardsmen and banners? That is a long tale, Cullen, and one I wish to share with your mother and Tomas. Cullen agreed. To an elf, patience was the way of life. With attention broken, the Gwali, cornered by Arutha, broke and ran to join the others of her kind, who stood around watching. Several examined her, grooming her hairy hide, patting her reassuredly after her ordeal. Satisfied she was unharmed, they quieted down and watched the elves and humans. Martin said, "Cullen, what are these creatures?" Cullen laughed, his pale blue eyes crinkling at the corners. He stood as tall as Arutha, but was even more slender than the rangy prince. As I have said, they are called Gwali. This rascal is named Apala. He patted the head of the one who had spoken to him. He is something of a leader among them, though I doubt they really entertain the concept. It may be that he is simply more talkative than the others. Looking at the rest of Arutha's company, he said, "Who are these with you?" Arutha made introductions, and Cullen said, "You are welcome to come to Elvandar." "What is a Gwali?" asked Rold. Cullen said, "These are, and that is the best answer I can give. They have lived with us before, though this is their first in a generation. They are simple folk, without guile. They are shy and tend to avoid strangers. When afraid, they will run unless they are cornered. Then they will feign attack, but don't be misled by those ample teeth. They're for tough nuts and insect carapaces." He turned his attention to Apala. "Why did you try to scare these men?" The Gwali jumped up and down excitedly. Pawula make little Gwali." He grinned. "She don't move. We afraid man's hurt Pawula and little Gwali. They are protective of their young," said Cullen in understanding. "Had you actually tried to hurt Pawula and the baby, they would have risked attacking you. Had there been no birthing, you never would have seen them." He said to Apala, "It is all right. These men are friends, and they will not hurt Pawula or her baby." Hearing this, the other Gwali came pouring out from the protecting trees and began to examine the strangers with open curiosity. They tugged at the riders' clothing, which was quite different from the green tunics and brown trousers of the elves. Arutha suffered the examination for only a minute and then said, "We should get to your mother's court soon, Cullen, if your friends are finished." "Please," said Jimmy, whose nose wrinkled as he pushed away the Gwali, who hung from a branch next to him. "Don't they ever bathe?" "Unfortunately, no," answered Cullen. He said to the Gwali, "That is enough. We must go." The Gwali accepted the instruction with good grace and quickly vanished among the trees, except Apala, who seemed more assertive than the rest. "They will continue this sort of thing all day if you allow them to, but they don't mind when you shoo them off. Come," he told Apala. "We go to Elvandar. Tend to Pawula. Come when you will." The Gwali grinned and nodded vigorously, then scampered off after his brethren. In a moment there was no hint that a Gwali existed within miles. Cullen waited until Martin and Arutha had remounted. "We are only half a day's travel to Elvandar. He and the other elves began their run through the forest. Except for Martin, the riders were surprised at the pace the elves set. It was not taxing for the mounts, but for a human runner to keep up for half a day would be close to impossible. After a short while, Ruther drew even with Cullen, who loped along at an easy pace.
Where do those creatures come from?
Cullen shouted.
No one knows, Arutha. They are a comic lot. They come from some place to the north, perhaps, beyond the great mountains. They will show up, stay a season or two, then vanish. We sometimes call them little wood ghosts. Even our trackers can't follow them after they depart. It's been nearly 50 years since their last visit, and 200 since the one before that.
Cullen breathed easily as he ran along in fluid strides.
How fares Thomas?
Asked Martin.
The prince consort fares well. And what of the child? He is well. He is a fit, handsome child, though he may prove somewhat different. His heritage is unique. And the queen? Motherhood agrees with her,
answered her elder son with a smile. They fell into silence, for Arutha found it difficult to continue the conversation while negotiating the trees, even if Cullen did not. Swiftly through the forest they travelled, each passing minute bringing them closer to Elvendar in the hopes fulfilled or hopes dashed. That would be ideal. I wish you luck with that. I'd not heard of that before. My parents, much of my extended family are like that. And somehow these are the humans whose negativity I take to heart. It's very easy to be negative. That's the thing that you have to remember about human beings, is that it's very easy to be negative. Negative is sort of the easy default state, because what it does is it pushes off the bad to tomorrow. It doesn't get rid of the bad, it just pushes it off to tomorrow. It's just like if you decide, oh, I'm going to eat healthy tomorrow, oh, I'm going to exercise tomorrow, oh, I'm going to get my life together tomorrow. All you've done is push the pain to tomorrow. It's not gone, but it's been pushed to tomorrow. And what we do is we push things off until tomorrow, until eventually tomorrow is so gigantic, so big and so overwhelming, that as soon as we enter tomorrow, it crushes us. And then we look back and we say, well, why did no one help me? Why was I not warned? Why was nothing done? But what you did was you lacked so much self-respect that you kept making it tomorrow's problem, future you's problem. Future you needs to deal with this. What you have to do is love yourself enough today that tomorrow's problems were less than today's, not more. Putting off things that you need to do until tomorrow is not loving yourself, it's loathing yourself. And human beings do this a lot through negativity. And what you have to understand is that usually when people are being negative, what they're doing is they're trying to push off the bad things inside of them onto you. And that has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with them not wanting to face what is wrong in their life and trying to make you responsible for it, even though you can't be. Even if you wanted to, you can't take away the struggles of another person. You cannot help somebody who does not want to help themselves. You have to take control of your own life, take accountability for yourself. I probably should too. I swear a lot, and I worry I'm going to accidentally swear around the wrong people one of these days. Castle took me to task a little while ago for carrying the burning coal of my father for too long and not letting go of it, and I kind of like that expression. Oh, Bear, yes. And it's difficult. Again, it's one of those things that's easier said than done. But when you hold on to hate and anger and pain, what you're doing is holding on to hot coals, or you're drinking poison to cure a knife wound. These are not things that fix you. When somebody wrongs you, if you hold on to that pain and that anger and that spite and that hate, what you're doing is you are allowing that person to control you. You are hurting yourself because they hurt you. And that just it doesn't make any sense on any level to hurt yourself because somebody else hurt you. And it's hard to let go because it's in our nature to cling to things. But when it comes to life, almost everything is easier said than done, but that's not an excuse not to do it. If that makes sense. And Bear is a very strong man. He doesn't give himself enough credit for how strong he is. I was enjoying the read and relaxing when I heard something about negative connotations. Yeah, I was just addressing what was going on in the chat, Esther. So much is easier said than done for me. Loving myself wasn't something I learned early on, so trying to do it now is really, really difficult. Well, the easiest way that you can start this as a habit is ask yourself if you would like the tomorrow you of tomorrow, do you want you of tomorrow to like you or hate you? Do you want you of tomorrow to have a better day or a worse day? Do you want you of tomorrow to look back at you 5 years from now and say, I really wish that I hadn't been that way? And if the answer is no, I don't want to dislike me. I don't want the me of tomorrow to dislike me today. Then do your best to make that the truth. Make that your reality. Because you're either choosing to push that off till tomorrow so that you struggle tomorrow, or you are choosing to make it better today. Everything is a choice. There's no such thing as living passively. You either choose to make it more difficult tomorrow, or you choose to make it easier tomorrow. There's no in-between on that. My family often holds me to my parents' sins. I hate it, so I've distanced from them, which is really the best that you can do. Matty, you can only be held accountable for the things that you are accounted to, the things that you do and the choices that you make. And anybody who tries to hold you accountable for something that you did not do, or the deeds of other people, is a fool who doesn't belong in your life. It's as simple as that. If somebody's going to dislike you because of something you have no control over, don't be around that person. And that is hard. Again, these are all hard, but living is hard. Being alive is a difficult thing. The natural state of humanity is struggle and poverty. And if you want anything more than that, it's hard. But you are strong enough to do it. That's the good news. There's an infinite amount of potential inside of every human being. You have an infinite potential inside of you. You just have to broaden your capacity, broaden your ability to access that, which is always hard. It's always a struggle. But if you do it often enough, you will be strong. And when you get strong, the struggles don't feel as hard. It never gets easier, but you can get stronger. And the only way that it ever feels easier is if you do get stronger. I'm really not... Well, you're just proving my point, Bear. You don't give yourself enough credit for the strength that you have. I'll stand by that till the day I die. I prefer to maintain a private life and prioritize my peace and happiness. Yeah, that's true. I have met my capacity today. Now it's time for bed. Yet you probably should be off to bed. It is quite late. We've only got a few more pages left, so we won't be on much longer. I mean, there's a reason why I write a lot and on certain themes in more stories. Your writing says a lot about you, Matty. Well, rest. I'm not tired. Bear has lived a very long life. We all, well, not a very long life. I'm not trying to say he's very old. But Bear has lived a life of experience. And much of that he has lived with wisdom, I agree. And I don't think he gives himself enough credit. You missed a couple of pages, and that's about it. We were just talking about the ways that human beings have to live. And the gist of it is everything you do is a choice. Nothing in your life is anything but your fault. And that's one of the hardest things to face. is that everything in your life is your fault. Whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, it's your fault. There's nobody who can be made responsible for the good things in your life, and nobody in your life who can be made responsible for the bad things. It's all on you. But that's not bad news, that's good news, because that means that you're in control of the things that you do with your life. Now, that doesn't mean you can stop disaster from happening. It doesn't mean that you can stop the sky from falling. But it does mean that you can be as strong as you possibly can be going into tomorrow, so that when fortune meets you, you can decide whether it's good fortune or bad. Because you think about it, if there is let's say you're walking through the mountains and suddenly you find a gold vein. It's not likely, this is an extreme example, but you find a gold vein. If you are weak and if you have no stamina, you're not going to be able to mine a gold vein. But if you are physically strong and you've taken time to be physically strong, you can mine that gold. You have prepared for good fortune. If you found it and you were too weak to mine it, you would find it to be bad luck. If you find it and you're strong enough to mine it, or you're clever enough to mine it, you would see it as good luck. And this happens with a lot of different things. Almost everything in your life can be either good fortune or bad. It's all a matter of how prepared you are when you meet it. Because good luck is just preparation meeting chance. That's really all it is. Good luck and bad luck are preparation meeting chance. That's all it is. What about things that I don't feel like a choice because I'm not thinking clearly? I beat myself up sometimes because I feel like I should have more control over some things than I do. That's still a choice, Feywitch. And sometimes things don't feel like a choice. But if you have things that you have no control over, and you fret about them, you are choosing to spend time fretting about them. Because if you have no control over it, why fret? If the fretting isn't going to change it. All you have control over is the things that go on within yourself. That is really all you have control over. And if you spend your time fretting over the things you don't control, then that is a choice. And it's a choice that is the choice to do nothing, except for worry. And it's not easy to hear that, but it's important to know that. You won't always be able to think clearly. Sometimes you'll be afraid. Sometimes you'll be worried. Sometimes you'll be stressed. But you are still always accountable for the actions that you take, and you're responsible for the outcomes of those actions. And it's not a fun thing to hear, but again, it is good news, because it means that you are in control of your life to the highest degree that anyone can be. Thanks for being a positive part of our day, Castle. Crazy Legs, it's my pleasure. I try my best. I have lived a very turbulent life myself. I don't want to say difficult, because difficulty is subjective. But I've lived a turbulent life myself. I've died 14 times. I've spent a good portion of my life in poverty, and a lot of it was because of bad choices. I must leave now. Have a good evening, Castle. Good night, Esther. Rest well. I hope you, Elsie, I hope Elsie and Johnny feel better. I hope that you stay feeling fine, and I will see you back here on Tuesday, to be sure. Barry is most definitely my nerdiness, quirkiness, and heart. I will not go much further on that for fear of outing myself with Barry herself. But I will say Barry's constant, will he be proud of me, is a question I ask in the they context. Yeah. Life is always hard. Existing is hard. But it only gets easier when you start getting stronger. And it's not that it's getting easier again, it's that you're getting stronger. Like, if you try to lift 40 pounds, for some people 40 pounds is impossible, you can't lift it. But if you start out with 5 and then you get to a point where you can lift the 40, eventually the 40 feels easy. Now, did the 40 get easier? Did it get lighter? No, the burden didn't lessen, but you became stronger. And that's how life works. Like, we always want to have more control. I wish I had more control over the things that the lady and I do. My whole job is very literally up to luck. And I have to be prepared enough to make things that people love and then be able to respond and make more of those things. That's the work that I do. And sometimes I'll put something out, something that the lady and I have worked on for weeks, and it reaches no one. And I could blame everybody for not showing up and not enjoying the thing and not appreciating the hard work that she and I put in. Or I can look at myself and I can say, okay, what about this didn't work? What about this didn't do well? And then I go back to the drawing board and I make more things. It's very easy for me to point a finger outward and say it's everybody else's fault, because my work very literally relies on everybody else enjoying what I do. But that's not very constructive, because I can't control what all of you do. I can't control what all of you enjoy. I have to make things that you will enjoy, and if I do, you'll show up and you'll watch them, and I will get to know that I made something good, and if I'm lucky, I'll get to make some money. I just look it because of my white beard. Believe me, wise is not something I am. It's a very wise thing to say, Bear. It's deceptive. I will not say I'm perfect. I've done many things I'm not happy with, but you're a very helpful presence in my life. You guys have helped me be able to walk forward instead of staying frozen in place. And I'm glad, Matty, because a lot of us will stay frozen in place. I've had my years where I did nothing and I stayed frozen in place. We need to share a castle enough to get him to partner. I appreciate you, Milu. Hey, look, as I've said, if it is worthy of doing so, it'll get there. If the quality is there, it will get there. But yeah, I've had my years where I didn't do anything, and I just stood still, and that was a choice. And actually, I'm still recovering from the years when I didn't do anything after my parents passed, where I sat and I was just paralyzed by fear and unknowing. Might be a bit crude, but I'm like a dog. If I can't eat it or play with it, then pee on it and move on. I'd say that that's a fair go of it. Hey, look, moving forward is living. If you're moving forward even just by a little bit, then that's living. Standing still means you're just waiting to die. But if you're moving forward even just a little bit, you're living. And I'm proud of you for it. It's just hard to move forward currently due to my skill set and my need for therapy. Well, don't let those things hold you back, Matty. You may need them, but you don't necessarily need them right now. Get them when you can get them, and don't let it stop you. And I agree with you. Moving forward is what I'm all about. Absolutely, Milu. That's what we do. All right, I'm gonna get back to reading. I want to get this done for you guys before we go to bed. I promised Bear I'd get him a chapter, so we're gonna get a chapter in. The journey was soon completed. One moment they were traveling through a heavy forest, and they entered a large clearing, and this was the first glimpse any of them, save Martin, had had of Elvandar. Giant trees of many colors rose high above the surrounding forest. In the afternoon light, the topmost leaves seemed ablaze with color where golden sunlight struck them. Even ablaze, the colors were golden. Even from this distance, figures could be seen along the high paths, spanning the gaps between boles. Several of the giant trees were unique to this place, their leaves a dazzling silver, gold, or even white. As the day's shadows deepened, they could be seen to have a faint glow of their own. It was never truly dark in Elvandar. As they crossed the clearing, Arutha could hear the astonished comments of his companions. Rogue said, "Had I known, you'd have to tie me up to keep me from coming along." Lottie agreed. "It makes the weeks in the forest worth it." Baru said, "The tales of our singers do not do justice to it." Oh, and Ben, I forgot to read your thing about being Scottish. That's very funny. I'm not perfect, but I'm Scottish. I'm Scottish descent, so near enough. That's very funny. 5 years ago, I could almost not walk or get up anymore. Now I can dance and run and play with my kids, and that's a hell of a victory. It's a hell of a victory. Just remember, if you make a mistake and learn from it, it's not a failure. The only failure is giving up entirely. I agree with what Tyson has said. The only failure is giving up entirely. My biggest goal is mostly getting my books done to share myself with the world and entertain people. Hell of a thing. Then my mental health took a dive as I physically recovered, still working on the mental and physical health, but moving forward is healing. My biggest goal is new and now to get enough of a following that I can give back to my family. It's a hell of a goal. That's respectable, and I think that you can do it. I think that you have the capacity for it, and I know that you'll get there if you keep your head up and you keep trying. And yeah, it's very easy to get sad when things get hard. It's very easy to get sad when things get hard. But the best thing that you can do for yourself is give yourself purpose. And some people may disagree with me on that, but that is my lived experience and the lived experience of everyone I've ever known who has had a hard time in life. Living with purpose is the greatest cure for sadness. And I don't mean that you should be serving other people constantly. Live with purpose. Find something that fulfills you in a way that is purposeful, that is repeatable. And your lows, because life is like this, right? You're going to have ups and downs. The goal of life should not be to have really high highs and then really low lows, because if you have really high highs, just coming back to normal is going to feel like a low. The goal of life is to have your highs and lows be like this, very close together. Or if you fail to try again, and if that doesn't work, erase all the evidence of the effort and move on. Going to give it my damnedest, and it's going to be up and down, but that's okay. That's life, up and down. From beginning to end, it's up and down. My biggest flaw is confidence issues, but I'm working on that. All you have to do is do it enough that you have proof that you can do it, and that's where confidence comes from. I am only as confident as I am in all of the things that I do, because I've done it enough to know that I'm at least pretty okay at it. Smajo though, 30. I'm just going to call you Joe though. Welcome in. I'm so glad that you could join us. Have a seat. We're finishing up story time, but I'm glad that you are. Hello, cousin. Are we actually related? Or are you calling me cousin because you are from somewhere where that is normal, like Hawaii or Samoa? Any which way, welcome in. Just my culture. Where are you from, friend? Life is a roller coaster. From Bangladesh. Interesting. I wasn't aware that was a commonality in Bangladesh, but young hookah. What's up, Irish pimp? Never been called that before, but hello, welcome in. More since 2021. Interesting. Well, welcome in. Grab your seats. We're actually just finishing up story time, but Castle, you're Irish. I'm pretty sure most people of Irish blood are distant cousins. It's fair enough. We get around. Can I read in silence? I can, but I'm not going to. Today, we did Harry Potter earlier, and there are some hints as to what I'm reading. A few. There are a couple hints on screen as to what we're reading. But it's Silverthorn by Raymond E. Feist. It is a... I don't have the other book with me. But this is the third book in the Rift War saga. It's very good. Strongly recommended. Anything above me beside a green wall? Interesting. Can you guys see the background? Milu and Bear and Tyson, can you guys see Silverthorn here? How are you reading when you yappy so much? It's called answering questions, Hookah. It's a very common part of conversation. Okay, alright. So the two folk who dropped in are probably trolling, that's fine. I do not smoke. No, that's quite alright. I figured the two of you were trolling, that's all, that's absolutely fine. As long as you stay polite, you don't ruin the vibe for anybody else, you're more than welcome to joke around. And no, I don't smoke or drink hookah. Not something I do. Well, if you guys are about perusing and you're going to be off when I start reading again, it's nice to meet you. I'm glad that you guys dropped in. And if not, you're more than welcome to sit in and enjoy your time here. Gonna need to dip out. It's getting late for me here, Castle. Rest well. It's all right, Frost. Rest well. I think we only have. We have 11 more pages left. We might actually, because it is getting late. I waffled for too long. We'll probably do two or three more pages and then we'll drop off. So being so nice, now I'll have to come back. Well, I hope that you do. My name is Castle, this is my tavern, and here we talk about myth and lore and tales of yore, and every now and again I read you all bedtime stories. We also do games on occasion and talk about the stories of those games. And I am a classically trained storyteller, and my job is quite literally to write and tell stories and to teach about myth and history. So, if that's something you feel you'll enjoy, you guys should stay. Too great. The voices I can do is great. I do my best. I'm so lost as to what's going on. Some folk like to go and do some coordinated trolling in chats on Twitch. It used to be a lot more common. I don't see it happen as much these days, but it is very funny. It is annoying to see how much cooler you are than me. I promise I'm not. I'm just an old storyteller. This is my real voice. There's no mods or anything on. This is just how I talk. I do Americanize a little bit for my American audience because most of my audience is American. But this is how I talk. Cheers, friends. Alright, I'm gonna get back to reading. I'm gonna do probably another 2.5 pages for bed. And then we're gonna end up for the night. Alright. Arutha awaited a comment from Jimmy, but when the voluble lad said nothing, Arutha looked behind. Jimmy rode in silence, his eyes drinking in the splendor of this place, so alien from anything he'd seen in his life. The usually jaded boy had finally encountered something so outside of his experience, he was truly awestruck. They reached the outer boundary of the Tree City, and on all sides could hear the soft sounds of the busy community. A hunting party approached from another quarter, bearing a large stag, which they carried off to be butchered. An open area outside the trees was set aside for the dressing of the carcasses. They reached the trees and reined in. Callan instructed his companions to care for the horses, and led Arutha's party up a circular stairway carved into the trunk of the biggest oak the prince and the others had ever seen. Reaching a platform at the top, they passed a group of elven fletchers practicing their craft. One saluted Martin, who returned the greeting and briefly inquired if he might impose upon their generosity. With a smile, the Fletcher handed Martin a bundle of finely crafted bow shafts, which the Duke placed in his nearly empty quiver. He spoke quick thanks in the elven tongue, and he and his companions continued onward. Callan led up another steep stairway to a platform. He said, "From here,
It may prove difficult for some of you. Keep to the center of the path and the platforms, and do not look down if you feel discomforted. Some humans find the heights distressing.
He said the last as if it was almost incomprehensible. They crossed the platforms and mounted more steps, passing the other elves, hurrying about their business. Many were dressed like Cullen, in simple woods garb, but others wore long, colourful robes fashioned of rich fabrics, or bright tunics and trousers equally colourful. The women were all beautiful, though it was a strange, inhuman loveliness. Most of the men looked young, about Callan's age. Martin knew better. Some elves hurrying past were young, 20, 30 years of age, while others, equally young in appearance, were several hundred years old. Though he looked younger than Martin, Callan was past 100 and had taught Martin hunting skills when the Duke had been a boy. They continued along a walkway nearly 20 feet wide, stretching along enormous branches, until they came to a fine ring of trunks. In the midst of the trees, a large platform had been constructed, almost 60 feet across. Laurie wondered if a single drop of rain could worm its way through the thick canopy of branches overhead to fall on the royal brow. They had reached the Queen's court. Background music ramped up a lot. Hang on. I will skip. Maybe, if it'll let me. Yeah. Sorry about that, friends. There's two songs in this playlist that just absolutely go wild for some reason. You finally hear the background music. I try not to let it get louder than me, but the playlist is so inconsistent. It's hard to find a playlist that's not inconsistent, because all of these songs get put out at different levels. Across this platform they walked, up to a dais upon which two thrones were erected. In the slightly higher of the two sat an elven woman, serenity enhancing her already nearly flawless beauty. Her face, with its arched brows and finely chiseled nose, was dominated by her pale blue eyes. Her hair was light brown, with streaks of gold, like Callan's, giving it the appearance of being struck by sunlight. Upon her head rested no crown, only a simple circlet of gold that pulled back her hair. But there was no mistaking Aglorana, the elf queen. Upon the throne on her left sat a man. He was an imposing figure, taller than Martin by 2 inches, with his hair sandy blonde and his face looked young, while still holding some elusive, ageless quality. He smiled at the sight of the approaching party, giving him an even younger look. His face was similar to the elves, yet with a difference. His eyes lacked colour to the point of being grey, and his eyebrows were less arched, his face less angular. Possessing a strong, square jaw, his ears, revealed by the golden circlet that held back his hair, were slightly pointed, less upswept than the other elves, and he was much more massive in the chest and shoulders than any elf. Callan bowed before them.
Mother and Queen, Prince and War Leader, we are graced by guests.
Both rulers of Elvendar rose and walked forward to greet their guest. Martin was greeted with affection by the Queen and Tomas, and the others were shown courtesy and warmth. Tomas said to Arutha,
Highness, you are most welcome.
Arutha said,
I thank Her Majesty and His Highness.
Seated around the court were other elves. Arutha recognized the old councillor, Tathard, from his visit to Cryde years before. Quick introductions were made. The Queen bade them rise and led everyone to a reception area adjoining the court, where they were all informally seated. Refreshments were brought, food and wine. Naglorana said,
We are pleased to see old friends.
She nodded at Martin and Arutha.
And to welcome new.
She indicated the others.
Still, men rarely visit us without cause. What is yours, Prince of Grondor?
Arutha told them his tale while they dined. From first to last, the elves sat listening silently. Then, when Arutha was finished, the queen said,
Tatha.
The old counselor nodded.
The hopeless quest,
Arutha asked.
Are you saying that you know nothing of Silverthorn? No, replied the queen. The hopeless quest is a legend among our people. We know the aloe vera plant. We know of its properties. That is what the legend of the hopeless quest tells us. Tatha, please explain.
The old elf, the first Jimmy and the others had seen who showed some sign of age, faint lines around his eyes and hair so pale it bordered on white, said,
In our lore of our people, there was a prince of Elvandar who was betrothed. His beloved had been courted by a Mordrell warrior, whom she spurned. In his wrath, the Mordrell poisoned her with a draught brewed from the aloe vera, and she fell into a sleep unto death. Thus the Prince of Elvandar began the hopeless quest, in search of that which could cure her, the aloe vera, the silverthorn. Its power is such that it can cure as well as kill, but the aloe vera grows only in one place, Moralaine, in your language the Black Lake. It is a place of power sacred to the Mordrell, a place where no elf may go. The legend says the Prince of Elvandar walked to the edge of Moralaine until he had worn a canyon around it. For he may not enter Moralaine, nor will he leave until he has found that which will save his beloved. And it is said he walks there still.
Arutha said,
But I am not an elf. I will go to Moralaine if you will but show me the way.
Tomas looked around the assembly.
We shall take you. We shall place your feet upon the path to Moralaine, Arutha, he said, but not until you've rested and taken counsel. Now we shall show you places where you may refresh yourselves and sleep until the nighttime meal.
The meeting broke up as the elves moved away, leaving Cullen, Thomas, and the Queen with Arutha's group. Martin said,
What of your son?
With a broad smile, Tomas motioned for them to follow. He led them through a bough-covered passage to a room, its vault formed from a giant elm, where a baby lay sleeping in a cradle. He was less than 6 months old from the look of him. He slept deeply, dreaming, little fingers flexing slightly. Martin studied the child and could see what Cullen meant by saying his heritage was unique. The child looked more human than elf, his ears being only slightly pointed and possessing lobes, a human trait unknown among elves. His round face looked more like that of a chubby infant. But there was an edge to it, something which said to Martin that this was a child who was more his father than his mother. Aglorana reached down and gently touched him while he slept. Martin said,
What have you named him?
Softly, the Queen said,
Callus.
Martin nodded. In the elven tongue it meant, Child of the Green, referring to life and growth. It was an auspicious name. Leaving the baby, Martin and the others were taken to rooms within the tree city of Elvandar, where they found tubs for bathing and sleeping mats. All were quickly clean and asleep, save Arutha, whose mind wandered from an image of Anita asleep to a silver plant growing on the shore of the Black Lake. And there, my friends, is where we are going to end for tonight. Oh. So if you are, it depends on what you're streaming from, but if you are streaming from a, if you're streaming from OBS, if you have a computer that is capturing things, you have to add a source for a desktop, and then make sure that that desktop source will be output properly. Now, if you're using an Elgato or something of the like, it makes it very difficult, but there are ways around it. If you all would like, I can probably set up a day in the tavern where I go in through the guild and I show everybody how my OBS is set up, if that's something you all would like. The lady and I used to do all sorts of like brand advising and stuff for live streamers and so on, so... Streamlabs is very resource intensive, Matty. If you're planning on just streaming to Twitch, I would recommend using OBS Studio, or at the very most, SE Live through OBS Studio. But I can show you guys my setups and how they work. I can put together a day where I just get on over in the guild and I share my screen and show you guys how everything's set up, and you can ask questions. Yeah, Streamlabs is very resource intensive because it does a lot. It is a resource hog. So unless you have a very good computer, there's not really a good reason to use Streamlabs. Unless you absolutely have to use Streamlabs. So... Alright, my friends, I think that this is where we're going to end for tonight. I'm actually quite worn out. I didn't even realize that I am. The Streamlabs app is not bad if you're using it on mobile, especially on iPhone, because it has a lot of resource bottlenecking that goes on. But on a computer, Streamlabs is very resource intensive. It takes up a lot of resources. Like, the lady's computer is a beast and it still takes up a lot on there. The iPhone is taped to the tank. And look, whatever works, right? Whatever gets the job done. Alright, my friends. Well, it was absolutely lovely to spend the evening with you. Bear, huzzah! Saturday will be my first actual writing stream. But yeah, you need to add a source, an audio source that'll let you have music in the background on your desktop. It's typically how you do it. Again, if you're streaming from something that has like an Elgato or something attached, then it gets a little bit more difficult. But there are ways around it if you'd like to do those things. Alright, my friends. I appreciate you all for your time. To everybody who gifted, subscribed, or donated to the tavern, tipped the tavern keeper tonight, is deeply appreciated. For all of you who stayed with me this whole evening, it was grand to have you. Bear, I appreciate you staying with us, and I hope you are relaxing and getting your back up. Esther, I'm not sure if you're still in or if you went off to sleep. I think Esther said she was going to sleep. Not sure though, but Matty and Milu, thank you both for being here. Thanks for the butterbeer. Big Ed, always a pleasure, my friend. I'm glad that you stuck with me to the end. You put in the hard yards today, Castle. I thank you for the wonderful afternoon. I appreciate you for barkeeping tonight, Bear. You and Matty sticking with us to the end is deeply appreciated. It's a hell of a night, and I appreciate you for spending it with me. But, my friends, this is all we have for the evening, so I'm gonna have to send you all off into the world. Guten Nacht, mein Freund, haben Sie einen wunderbaren Nacht, Tyson. I appreciate you all for being here. It means the world to me, and I love you all for it. I may get on tomorrow. I don't know. I'll let you guys know, because we have to drive the boy to the airport tomorrow, so we may not be doing that, but. The lady will be back on Sunday, and then next week we should be all on schedule. So, it was wonderful to see you all. To all of the new friends who joined, it's a pleasure to have you. On Twitch, I will try to raid out and see if we have any friends on, but if not, this will be the end for the night. So, I'll do everything in my power to make sure it happens, Bear. You better believe it. It is the greatest dream that the lady and I have to one day have the tavern and to have that little artisan village. If our quarter's live, well, then there's no reason not to drop in on her. All right, my friends, that is all for the evening. Until the next time the portal's open, be safe, find stories wherever you can, and always stay bloodthirsty, my friends. We'll see you next time.